That or what?
I don't care.
Okay.
Hello there, and welcome to the next MCU panel discussion and review. Obviously, this time it's the big boy, the Avengers, the finale of Phase 1. And I was planning to have a big panel on this one, but about half of them dropped out, so now we've only got three of us. But that'll be all good. Obviously, we got the soldier of the Phase 1 reviews, Callum.
All right.
Yep. And we've also got a new guest, Anthony.
Hello there.
Yes. And Anthony has been talking to me about comic books and superheroes for a very long time, so I trust he knows his shit.
I know a good deal, yeah.
Yes. And we also might have Adam join at some point if he can get his phone fixed, but we'll find out. So, before we get into the meat and potatoes, I would like to start by saying patreon.com/Genesis of Androzani. If you'd like to support this channel, you can go there. It's just so we can upgrade our equipment and making videos higher quality and faster. And there are certain tiers there where you can get stuff like exclusive access to videos, early access to videos, and also a master tier where you can request videos for us to do. And twitter.com/GAndrozani if you'd like to get in contact with us, especially if you want to be on one of these panel discussions, because we'd love you to. And if you know me personally, message me on Facebook about it. You must be sick of hearing that now, Callum.
No, it's all good.
I feel like if we get to Endgame, you should do it because you should know it off by heart.
I would know it off by heart by that point.
Okay, so with the Avengers, let's start by giving our sort of 2-minute initial, max 2-minute initial thoughts on these movies, and I think we'll start with Anthony, seeing as he's new to this panel. So, Anthony, I'm going to give you a max of 2 minutes to give your sort of initial overall thoughts on this movie.
Yeah, so when this first came out back in 2012, I believe it was.
Yeah.
It was kind of it was like a very hyped up thing, like they are kind of Endgame is now and Infinity War was last year. I wasn't actually too big into these movies. Like, I had obviously seen Iron Man and stuff, and I was like, oh yeah, it's a good movie. And then this trailer came out, and I remember it very clearly because I kept seeing it on my YouTube feed, and I was like, oh, not right now, like, it's not too important to me. And then the movie came out, and someone else at school had like gone and saw it, and they told me like how awesome it was, and I should see it too. So I went and saw it, and like that's when my whole world was flipped, and I was like, whoa, this is a really cool fictitious universe. I want to like get into this, and I want to actually like get all the recent comics, read up on them. How does this movie go hand in hand with the comics? Does it at all? And yeah, this was the movie that kind of threw me into the world of Marvel, not just Marvel comics, but like DC comics too. And of course the kind of smaller companies, of course, that do other characters. But yeah, this was like the big kicking off point for me in terms of kind of big superhero fandom, I guess.
So it's like your gateway into superhero fandom.
It was, yeah, absolutely.
Rightio, that's very interesting. It's interesting you didn't even talk about the movie itself. You just talked about your experience. I think that's pretty interesting. That story. Right. So, Callum, how about you give your 2-minute sort of thing?
Right. Going into this for the first time for me, this is the first time I'm watching the MCU in order, and I'm also seeing films I haven't seen before as well, like Incredible Hulk and First Avenger in full for the first time. So, watching all those in a row, and all of them, let's be honest, the way people ranking them, they all have, some of them been good, and some of them have been very disappointing, some of them have been utter trash. So, having that all culminate into this film, I knew beforehand going into all of this that I was going to enjoy watching this film again, but after seeing everything now in order, I have such a bigger appreciation for this film. I loved this film before, and I thought it was one of my favorite films I've ever seen. But now, after seeing all of the films leading up to this, and then revisiting the film itself, I've just found a new like appreciation for this. Like as a film, this is for me a fantastic film, and it's really the combination of everything that um, Marvel Studios has set out to do from Iron Man to this point. The film itself is just so fun. It's so action packed for like a team up film, which has, at this point had never been really attempted before. So rewatching it and just having that all appreciation for the rest of the films and this film itself is so fun and so exciting for me. I just had an absolute blast watching this film again with all my like all the new stuff that I've seen as well from phase one of the MCU. So yeah, that's my initial thoughts. I think this film is really, really just fantastic.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, I would repeat a lot of that. I think when I first watched this film, I had never seen any of the MCU. I mean, I guess I probably saw like a small portion of First Avenger. I saw like one scene from Iron Man 2, but I really didn't understand what it was all about. And I watched it when it came out on DVD, and when I first watched it, I really enjoyed it. It was a really fun movie, but there's a lot of it that I didn't really understand, but I should just sort of went with it, and like overall, it was a fun experience. It was like, yeah, that was fun. But like you said, going back and watching the MCU in order and having context for all of it made this film so much more enjoyable. I like this film is like 2 hours and 20 minutes, and I was hooked from frame one to frame end. It's one of the most well put together superhero films ever. I think it's just it's exactly what it needed to be. And obviously, you know, when we get into the review, there's a couple of flaws here and there, but overall, I think this deserves to be the success that people say it is, because it truly is a landmark in cinema.
Yeah. This film had so much to do to like ride off the success of all the other MCU films at this point, and I feel like that the writer and the director Josh Whedon did this almost not flawlessly, but he did a fantastic job with this film, bringing all of this together, making it so action packed, but having the characters so bouncing off each other so well. Just everything about this film is done almost just it's a fantastic film, and it's done so well. Writing is great, action scenes are beyond anything else from most of the film so far, and I just feel like Josh Whedon was the perfect choice to do this film, I would say, and he does a fantastic job with everything he's given and everything around this film. So
I absolutely agree. Right, so I think we should start digging into the characters a bit. Right, Anthony.
Yo, which character shall we dissect first off?
I think we should start with your man Tony Stark, aka Iron Man. I think.
Of course.
What did you think of Tony Stark in this movie?
So, obviously coming off of like watching all the first phase films, so I'm pretty fresh with like Iron Man, Iron Man 2. There is a kind of big change character. Obviously from Iron Man 1, he's kind of this big egotistical dude who's like, I'm the best thing there is since like sliced bread. I can make anything, you know, I make weapons, I'm a billionaire, blah, blah, blah. Iron Man 2 gets a little bit better, but he's still kind of like that. And it's the same in the Avengers. Up until that big kind of last finish play, where he takes that nuke into that wormhole. He's kind of like, earlier on in the movie, I think he has a conversation with Captain America. And Captain America says something along the lines of like, if it was down to the play, like you wouldn't do it, would you? And I really like in movies how the actions that happen later reflect kind of conversations between characters.
Yeah.
And it like foreshadows it and stuff. But it's just this growth of this character of Iron Man is really awesome to kind of rewatch through these movies. And I am very much looking forward to Iron Man 3. That's tomorrow.
Yes.
But Iron Man
Obviously,
is
you
one of
can't
those.
spoil it because I haven't seen
No,
it.
absolutely not. But Iron Man is one of those characters in film. I love the character development through these movies and 4 movies to come.
Mm. Yeah. What about you, Callum?
I pretty much agree with all of that. I think Tony Stark is like in this film. He's funny. He's as charismatic as he's ever been. But obviously in the first half of the film, it's classic Iron Man Tony Stark. The way he makes an entrance in Germany, the way he talks to all the other Avengers. It's classic Tony Stark. But that moment in when Agent Coulson dies, that moment and the way it affects Tony is I love the way that Downey Jr. reflects that in the way that his performance, and I think also in like just that Anthony said about Tony taking the missile into the wormhole, and I think that Tony Stark in this film is really really well done. I think he's probably my favorite character in the film, probably maybe tied with someone like Bruce Banner maybe, but I think Robert Downey Jr. again gives on a great performance, and I love Tony Stark in this film, and I pretty much agree with everything that Anthony said.
Yeah, I think Tony Stark has an incredible amount of duality in this film. The sense that you could come into this film not having seen any of the movies, and you'd still instantly connect with them. But then, if you have seen the Iron Man movies beforehand as well, it adds a whole new layer to his character, and like it's just incredible. His performance is so it's on so many different levels. It succeeds, and from his charisma to his personality to his story to the writing to just Downey Jr.'s ad-libbing, it's all so well done. And he just any scene he's in, he just brings you right in. He's like after watch. I mean, I already knew that he was a very captivating actor, but having watched these movies in full now, like really getting into MCU, he's becoming one of my favorite actors to watch. Like in any movies I've seen recently, he's just such a fun presence, and his interactions with the other characters in this movie were so well done, all of them.
Yeah, I think the writing for him especially is done really well, and he has the right interactions with everybody, right kind of scenes, right kind of dialogue. I think Tony Stark Iron Man is done almost flawlessly in this film.
Yeah.
He's done so right. Downey Jr. is every time he's on screen, you're captivated. Every time, like you want to know what he has to say, and you want to know like everything he's doing, and it's just so fun to watch as well. Just like everything he does is just so interesting to watch. So yeah, I would say like he's one of the best characters in this film without a doubt.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to say more than that because then you'll be going into other characters because it's like this movie. This movie's strength is on the is on the connections between the characters.
Yeah.
So I think
Absolutely.
it'd be a good idea to move on to our next character so that we can talk more about the interactions. Of course, the other sort of main hero of this movie was Steve Rogers, aka Captain America.
Yep.
Now, I think I might start with this one because I was quite critical of the character when came to the first Avenger. I'd never said I disliked Captain America overall, but what I meant was there were certain things about him as a lead character that I didn't connect with, but I will go back on that like to a degree with this film because when you put Captain America against Iron Man, all of his characteristics make sense because you know like his character in the first Avenger is I said it's very American patriot. He's a soldier. He does the right thing. He's a white meat good guy with great intentions. But once you put him up against Iron Man, you have the two leads of the MCU against each other, but they're so different in personality that when they clash, it makes for this just amazing to watch scenes. Like I'm pretty sure I'm confident in saying my favorite scenes in this film are when Captain America and Iron Man face off.
Yeah, I would probably agree with that.
Yeah, and I love the scene where like they're just bantering with each other about like like how Captain America is basically criticizing that Tony Stark's like just a he's like a hack, like he's not really a superhero. He bought his fame. He comes from a high place, and he's got all this technology to give him the power, and then like fucking Tony Stark comes back at him and says, "Yeah, well, you were made out of like in a lab, so like apart from like these steroids you were given, you're nothing compared to me. I'm a billionaire. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a philanthropist, and I can whip ass like that kind of thing. Just that was so captivating, and like the way they test each other's morals is so cool.
Yeah, I agree. I think the scenes between Rogers and Stark are definitely some of my favorite scenes in this film. Just their whole confrontation at near the end of the second act it's so intriguing to watch how they play off each other. Like both of Chris Evans and Downey's performances bouncing off each other is so intriguing to watch. Just everything about it, about like you've said, how like Roger's saying there are people that have nothing that Tony Stark does, but they're worth like 10 of him. Like that stuff like that is bloody fantastic to watch, and it makes it even more sweeter when they come together at the end of the film, and you get that famous hero shot when Hulk comes in, that famous hero shot, and it makes it so much sweeter to watch stuff like that. It's just everything about this is just great. It's such a great and well done film, and all the characters are done so well. I do have a few problems with just a few stuff that's done in this film, but the amount of good that's done in this film, especially with its characters, is second to none, I would say. And the confrontations are probably the best part of the film, I would say, and how they develop their characters from that.
Yeah, Anthony, what was Cap like for you in this one?
It's interesting again. Kind of thinking back to like the first Avenger, obviously, where he's come from a different time. He was obviously from the World War I era, and obviously that means everyone he went to battle with, all of his brothers in arms, they're all kind of dead. And that's something real kind of depressing to think about. But the beginning scene where he's just in a gym beating the crap out of these punching bags, it's like you really feel kind of for the character. And then once kind of him and Stark get on screen together, there's this kind of friction because they're, like you guys have both said, they're polar opposites. Kind of one guy is, he's Tony Stark is like this guy who's all flash and smooth, and he's like, I've got this under control, everything's good. And Steve Rogers, Captain America, is kind of like selfless. He's kind of quiet, he does what's right instead of, doing it for the show and like, oh, I'm this rich guy, and I'm so cool and I can do all this stuff.
Yeah, and I love in this film how much Steve Rogers is treated like an old man in this film. There's so many stuff, like especially one of my favorite parts is probably when Nick Fury mentions how like the people under Loki's control are basically flying monkeys. Thor has no idea what he's saying, and then Rogers like, I understood that reference. Like that's stuff like that. Like the comedy in this film is really, really good. It's so great. Funny. It's probably one of the. I think at this point might be the funniest so far. Yeah, I think in terms of comedy.
Like I love how like Steve Rogers like he's actually like in terms of like physical appearance, he's like younger than Tony Stark, but his personality is like an old dad or an old granddad. He's just like he's so chiseled and old, and his like moral values are set to high culture, and he's grew up during a hard time, and he's like, what the fuck are you kids doing? You get off your ass. And then Tony Stark is like, I'm fucking rich, shut up, don't tell me what to do.
And another scene is like when they're about to go to New York, and Rogers goes on the plane, and one of the guys on the plane just trying to say, "What are you doing here?" And Captain America's like, "Son, just don't." I'm just like, that is just so well done. I bloody love the comedy in this film.
Oh, so good.
Yeah,
and I love Oh fuck! There's just so many. There's just so many moments. Like one of my favorite parts of this movie is how like when all the Marvel superheroes fight to each other, they're like these unstoppable weapons that they have. When they clash, they equal out. Like
Yeah,
Thor, like Thor's hammer
yeah,
and Captain America's shield. Like that scene
yeah,
is so awesome.
yeah. That's that whole section there when Thor arrives is so fun, and like
Yeah.
the fight between Thor and Iron
I
Man
think
is
I think we should
really fun.
I think we should start talking about
Yeah.
Thor now as well.
Yeah, Thor.
yeah,
Thor is like one of the more interesting. It's weird to think because, like, considering how going from Thor, it's interesting to see now his developed relationship with Loki. That scene with them after Loki takes Loki away from the plane, I really enjoyed the scene between the two. Like,
Yeah.
I love this sort of how Thor still believes in wanting to fix this relationship with his brother, and just Loki is having none of it. It's like so really interesting to watch the friction between them two throughout the film as well.
What were you gonna say, Anthony?
Oh no, I kind of rewatching Thor again because these first phase movies I have not seen any of them in so long. But rewatching Thor, it made me appreciate that same scene, and pretty much all of Thor's scenes. I kind of knew where he was coming from, because I had obviously seen this movie again like a couple of days ago, so I kind of remember. I know where kind of what he's been doing, and his beliefs and stuff, and that relationship with Loki again, because that's such an integral part of this film, The Avengers. As Loki, the main villain, and Thor's his brother or half brother. So rewatching Thor for me was really cool. I kind of connected a bit more with this movie.
Yeah, yeah. I think if you watch the Avengers without seeing Thor, his character might seem a bit weird because he's a very like the best word I can use to describe him is alien.
Yeah,
He's so like and people might look at him and be like he seems a bit cringeworthy, like he's speaking in like Shakespearean tongue and he's so like he's just so hell bent on like trying to get his brother back and stuff, and it's just like you might, if you don't know his backstory, you might feel a bit like off put by him. But when you watch Thor and then you watch this movie, it makes so much more sense.
yeah.
Thor
is, I think, Thor's great in this film, especially in the action scenes between like him and Hulk, for example. That scene on the plane, it's really fun. The action in that is really, really good.
Yeah,
I love how Hulk tries to pick up the hammer, and just stuff like that is great in action scenes. It's just so fun.
And obviously the fight between Thor and Captain America, man. Oh my god, I love that so much.
Very brief, but so sweet as well. Just that little part, so good.
It's almost like a triple threat between like Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor.
Yeah, I would say that's like the main three of the MCU, especially now. I think going into Endgame, like that's the main three. I would say, and I love
it's
how
like it's like their first meeting as well.
Yeah, exactly. That's the first time they've all met each other for the first time. So it's really cool to see how far everything's come, and that whole scene is so fun. I love how when Thor and Tony Stark are going at each other, and Tony's just like, "Fear in the park," and just like, "Does Mother know you wear her drapes?" Stuff like that. It's so that just reminds you how funny Tony Stark is. It's just... Love that. I love that so much.
Yeah, I mean, like, just I love the fact that these guys, like, there's no assumption that they're all good guys. Like, they just see each other and they're like, that's someone else that is a threat. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, because Cap asked if that would be a friendly, and Tony's like, doesn't matter if he takes Loki or frees him or kills him, then the Tesseract's gone. It's like, doesn't matter if he's good or not. He's still got what is extremely important.
It was done with like psychology, not just like because if it was like if this was like the 1950s, like, and they did the Avengers, then it would literally just all the heroes would just come together and they'd just be like, "Hello, we are the good guys. Let's kill the bad guys." Whereas with this, it's like it feels more realistic because they see each other and they're like, "Who the fuck's that? We don't know him. We don't know anything about him. He just took our prisoner. Let's fuck him up."
Yeah, but they can either assume that he's going to either kill them or free him. So yeah, that's great. And I love how like Cap's like, we need to plan a form of attack, and Tony's like, I have a plan, attack. It's just like that stuff. Again, just so funny and just so Tony Stark.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Do you have other thoughts on Thor, Anthony?
No, not really. It was just kind of the increased appreciation I had for the character this time around after watching Thor, and kind of because whenever I'd watch this movie, whenever I'd watch Avengers, when Thor gets Loki from the helicarrier, and he's kind of like, "I thought you were dead," blah 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 blah. In my mind, I was like, "Yeah, what? I don't get that." But after watching Thor, the ending where Loki falls off the Rainbow Bridge, and it's like, oh shit, where's he gone? Rewatching it now, I'm like, oh, okay, that's a fair kind of reaction from Thor. Like, I thought you were dead. We mourned for you on Asgard. Blah 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 blah. It all connects now, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I just had a deeper appreciation for his character this time around, which is always good.
Yeah.
Mm.
Awesome.
Yeah. I don't think Thor as a character doesn't go too in depth, and it doesn't develop that much. But I think just his presence in the film is done really well.
Yeah, and he's also his screen time is actually very limited as well. I think I read somewhere it's like Iron Man and Cap get 45 minutes each, whereas Thor's only gets like 25.
Yeah, he's more just a presence, I would say, in this film. He doesn't get much development. I would say it's really all the rest. I would say get more development than Thor.
Yeah,
I would say, but I wouldn't say that's necessarily a bad thing, because I think just his presence and the way he interacts with everybody is done really well itself, I would say.
Yeah. Right, moving on to what might be my favorite. No, maybe not my favorite, but it's the most relieving thing for me about this film is Mark Ruffalo as Bruce Banner and the Hulk.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Holy shit. He is like Edward Norton and Mark Ruffalo are not even in the same universe. They're so different.
Yeah, they're two completely different characters, I would say.
Yeah.
Like Edward Norton, I really he's a good actor, but I really struggled with him. He was such a intensely aggravating character to watch. Whereas with Mark Ruffalo, it's like the first scene you see him, he's just so likable in every way. He's just such an endearing character.
Yeah.
And his approach to his fear of turning into Hulk makes way more sense. The writing around the Hulk is so good in this movie. It's like the first, and it's such a relieving thing because for a lot of people, for a long time, the Hulk was never really done properly on cinema, and this was the first point where Hulk is the star.
Yeah, Hulk. It's like Hulk isn't the monster; it's Bruce Banner, the character with the Hulk. That's what is done so well in this film. Just in this first scene alone, you're so. It's such a flip from Edward Norton's performance from him, and then you got Mark Ruffalo, who straight away just kills it as Bruce Banner. Just that first scene is so good with him and Natasha. It's just so. I can't get enough of I love how he hates this monster within him, but he knows that if something happens, he knows he's gonna come out and kill people. He knows. I love that just sort of him giving Natasha options and stuff saying, well, you can do this easy way, or the other guy's going to come out. I just love the way how Mark Ruffalo plays the character. It's just such a flip from Edward Norton, who just didn't get the character. Looking from both these characters now, it's night and day. Watching Mark Ruffalo's performance makes Edward Norton's performance even worse than I originally thought after watching Hulk. It's
and I think it's even more extreme for Anthony because you're watching it in the chronological order, aren't you? And you just saw Incredible Hulk yesterday, right?
Yeah. Incredible Hulk was yesterday. The Incredible Hulk is actually one of those movies. There are a couple movies, right? And they're horrible, and they're so bad that I get a headache watching them. Incredible Hulk was one of those movies. I said, because I told Connor I like the whole ending. How I can't even remember the Abomination. Yeah, whatever the guy's name is. He gets like the super soldier or the messed up super soldier stuff from Ross, and he's like, I can, like, I nearly had him. I can beat the shit out of him this time. Give me more. That ending, like, I like that. That's fine. CGI is okay. It'll get worse in 10 years, but whatever. It'll look horrible in 30. But no, the whole movie was just real slow and crappy, like, and real kind of, I don't know. I can't think of a word to immediately describe it, but it was just not.
Bruce!
Yeah.
Bruce,
It was.
Bruce. That
That's the
sums
word.
up in a nutshell.
Yeah, it's just like, oh man.
But like specifically Edward Norton's Bruce Banner versus Mark Ruffalo's.
Yeah, no, I think Mark Ruffalo's is more suited for kind of the cinematic universe type stuff. Because could you imagine if they put Edward Norton in the universe type situation, and like you've got Chris Evans, Robert Downey Jr., and then Edward Norton's in the corner being all dramatic and depressed, and it's just like, oh, what a mood killer, you know?
It would bring this movie down massively, I would say.
Absolutely, it would. Yeah.
It's
Because
like,
Hulk is one of the like most likable characters in this movie, even when he's beating up like Thor. Like
yeah,
Yeah.
I think just everything with the Hulk, I think, is done extremely well. I just love it. I think this whole, and I love Loki's plan to try and just make the Hulk come out.
Yeah.
I love how that's revealed as well. I love the scene between Loki and Natasha. I think that's done extremely well. And I love how basically Loki's plan succeeds. Like Hulk comes out and it almost drifts the Avengers apart because of that.
Yeah.
I think, and I do love, and like I said before, the scene between Hulk and Thor, and just like when Hulk's trying to pick up the hammer, that's just like, it's like stuff like that, just like so
Brilliant.
Good, and it's just
brilliant.
like that's what the Hulk is, and that's
And
how
I
the
love-
Hulk should be represented as.
I absolutely love that line at the climax of the film where he says, "I'm always angry."
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's what he's trying to reveal when he's grabbing the scepter. That's what he's trying to say. Like that's what his secret is. That he's always angry, but like sometimes he can just lose control. Like that's what happens. But he's always angry. That scene is like in general when he punches the big whatever it's called. He just punches it and it crushes. That is just so like a fuck yeah moment.
Yeah.
And it's like it gives me chills every time.
And also, I think the most impressive thing about Hulk specifically in this movie is the way they animated him, because previously he was more like sort of keyframe animation, whereas in this one it was actually Mark Ruffalo on set doing the acting. So Hulk actually has a face and he acts.
Like you can tell that's Mark Ruffalo's face.
Yeah, and I love that thing where like Captain America gives everyone orders and then he looks at Hulk and says, "Hulk smash," and he smiles.
Yeah.
Such a feel-good scene.
Yeah, Hulk just looks real. He looks so real. He looks so good. Like it's only 4 years apart from Incredible Hulk, but man, it looks so different, but looks so much better.
Oh, he just looks like in 2008 one. Like the detail on a CGI is fine. It's just
it's very detailed.
It's just the face. It's so wank. Like the animation just doesn't look like a real person the same way that this one does.
Yeah, you can tell that is Mark Ruffalo. You can tell it's.
And
Bruce Banner.
I also think making Hulk a comedic character was a great move.
Yes,
because some of the best lines in the movie, fucking puny god, that was so funny.
Yeah, that is like one of the most famous scenes in the film.
It's one of the most famous scenes in like our generation, like when he smashed.
It's like that was the first real time in the MCU where there was a massive subversion. Like that, Loki's about to give this like monologue of how he's going to defeat everybody to Hulk, and then the Hulk just grabs him, smashes him against the ground multiple times. It's just so funny. It's so good.
Yeah.
Fucking hell, man. Yeah. Anything else you want to say, Anthony, about Hulk?
I have an interesting fact. So the roars from the Hulk in Avengers. I'm not sure if it's in any of the other movies this Hulk is in. But the noises, Mark Ruffalo, Lou Ferrigno, who was the like Hulk from the the very
80s, right?
first, yeah, and then also two people from, guess where, New Zealand.
Oh yes,
So yeah,
bit of early
that's
trivia.
yeah, yeah, which was interesting for me because I had previously thought it was just Lou Ferrigno.
Well, I mean,
Like it was him
it
who,
wasn't the 2008 one. It was just him.
yeah, well that's why I thought it. I was like,
Thankfully, it
oh,
wasn't Edward Norton.
Yeah,
Oh,
that,
God.
that sounds super weird.
But I love the fact that Mark Ruffalo gets to play Bruce Banner and Hulk. Like
Yeah.
that's a dream come true.
Yeah,
Because if you get cast as Bruce Banner, it's like, okay, I'm gonna play the guy under the guise of Hulk, and then like Hulk's gonna be animated or he's gonna be whatever. Whereas like here, he gets to do both, and I think that's that is such a great thing for Mark Ruffalo. The fact that he gets to play the Hulk himself.
absolutely.
and he does a fantastic job with it as Hulk as well. He does a really good job.
Yeah, he's like one of my top three favorite things about this movie is the chemistry between Tony Stark and Steve Rogers is one. Just Mark Ruffalo's Hulk being so much better than any other Hulk that had come previously, and just being the definitive Hulk and just being brilliant. And then the other one would be the main villain of this film, and that's Loki.
Yeah, Loki is what a villain! What a villain! What a smart way to bring a past villain from Thor and use him in such a better way and a great way in this film.
Well, the thing is, you think about the other villains from Phase 1. There's no contest. It's not going to be Obadiah Stane. It's not going to be Whiplash. It's not going to be Abomination, and it's probably not going to be anyone from the first Avenger because they're from the 40s.
It's not going to be Red Skull. Yeah, it's not going to be Red Skull.
No, it's not going to be Red Skull. Loki was the best choice, and Tom Hiddleston absolutely steals this movie. He's great.
Yeah, that's like him and Thor. He's great in Thor, but there's always just something. I always felt that there's something missing from that, and this film fills that spot of what's missing. He just his plan and the way Tom Hiddleston performs as Loki, doing this plan in motion is so well done. He just is so charismatic as a villain, but he's so snarky to someone like Thor, but to everybody else he seems so menacing. But it's just when Thor's around he seems a bit more like pulled back and a bit more snarky and a little bit more like scared in a way. And I love the way that Tom Hiddleston performs in that way. When he's trying to like antagonize Black Widow using Barton like against her, that is like, if that was probably in another film and they didn't use that sort of twist of Black Widow figuring out what Loki's plan is, that is like one of the moments in the film where like you find out how sadistic the villain is. And Hiddleston does that fantastically. His scenes with Thor are so great, and you really get to know these characters a lot more than you did in Thor. That's what Joss Whedon does so well with Loki.
It's crazy It's crazy how Thor is a movie that's focused on those characters, but this film does more with Loki than that one.
Yeah, I love the part when, like, right at the end of the conversation with Thor at the beginning, when Thor gets knocked over the cliff, and when he says, "Well, let me tell you something, brother," and he like gets knocked out, and he's like, "I'm listening." That's so funny. That's like one of the first big laughs I had when we were watching it. I love that part. But yeah, Tom Hiddleston and Loki are fantastic.
Yeah,
brilliant choice for a villain, and probably the best villain so far. Probably no contest, I would say.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, especially because I did say, I think I said on, was it the Iron Man 2 one? I was a little bit like not sure on Loki because I hadn't seen the Avengers in a long time. Like the only time I ever saw it was like 6 or 7 years ago, and I hadn't seen any of the MCU, so I wasn't really aware of him. Yeah. When I watched it, and I saw him in Infinity War, which he was in like 5 minutes of. So yeah. I was really like just not sure on him, and then I watched Thor, and I was like, his story's interesting, but I still don't quite get it. And like people were like, because you guys are just like, oh my god, he's the best, he's the best. I'm like, oh, I just don't get it yet. But now watching the Avengers today, like I'm on the bandwagon now.
Yeah,
Now you
exactly. You
know.
like this film makes you get it. This film makes you
Yeah.
get Loki as a character.
Yeah, and like even though I've heard, even though everyone says that Thor: The Dark World's one of the worst, I'm still interested to watch just to see what happens with him because
Yeah.
he is such a captivating presence. Yeah. What do you think of Loki, Anthony?
Yeah, I think like you said with Loki in Thor, it was like the character was kind of interesting. How it's like he's kind of the lower to Thor, and Thor's always like, oh, the great son, this, that. And you're kind of like, this is a good character, but there's like something off about it. You know what I mean? Like there's something missing. And then once you watch Avengers, you're like, oh, there it is. You know, it's and I'm just thinking now, it kind of paints a picture. You probably don't know about this, Connor. I don't know I don't either, but it's kind of like if you have an older brother and he's playing out with his friends, you know what I mean? And then you kind of like want to join in. They're like, nah, go away. Like you're the little kid or whatever. I just had that idea now, but it's kind of like, it's kind of what's happening. If you get what I'm saying.
Even more extreme because Thor's literally being crowned king of Asgard.
Yeah,
it's like,
and
it's like, hello Thor, you are God now.
Yeah,
and Loki, you're not.
Well, it's literally like that was Loki's goal in Thor, you know, and he's failed at this, and now he's seen his brother succeed at his, you know, that was his big moment, and Thor's kind of just been like, see ya, that's my crown, I'm king now. And it's like, here's, you know, Iron Man and Captain America and the Hulk and Hawkeye, and they're all my friends, and we're gonna kick your ass. It's kind of like Marvel does this thing with its villains. You'll find out later, but it does this things with its villains where you go, I can kind of relate with that. I relate more with the hero, but like the villain, that's you
can see where
a little
they're
bit
coming
relatable.
from. You can see where they got there.
Yeah,
it's just their morals is that you disagree with what makes them a villain. You get why they're doing it, but their morals are all messed up, and that's why they're the villains and why you are meant to like not like them.
But even then, like if you were put in that position, deep down inside, you just feel you probably feel similar way. You may not act the same way, but it's just like, you know. And I think with Thor, Thor kind of did the heavy lifting for his character, where it was all boiling up inside, and he wasn't saying anything. He was keeping it all in because he wanted to stay in line. And then at the climax of Thor, that's when he started to really explode and just like let out all his anger. And we sort of saw some of what we saw in this movie there. But I think not just that, but I think once he hits the Avengers, like his character evolves so far beyond what it was in the beginning. And like I think a lot of that comes down to Tom Hiddleston's performance, just like realizing what he wanted to do with the character, and also the writing of the film. I think the writing of this movie is so much more focused, and so much the character writing in this movie is so much better than anything else in Phase 1. And I think it just all came together in like a perfect storm, and Loki just became so iconic.
Yeah.
And I also love the fact that they make it that Loki is as powerful as all the Avengers combined. It makes him a very strong villain.
Yeah.
It literally takes all of them to stop him.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah, he's just such a great villain in this film. Like it just builds upon so much that Thor set out, and he is good in that film. But this is the film that he like is a marquee villain. This is the film where he's made a marquee villain. Yeah. And I just love him in this film. I think
and the way they balance his strengths as well as the comedic side is so well done.
Like at times he's a really funny villain at times as well. Yeah, like he has moments where he's very fun.
One of the funniest sorry, not just funniest, but one of my favorite moments in the film is when Hawkeye shoots that arrow at him, and because he's so skilled, he catches it, but because he's never been to Earth, he doesn't anticipate that it's a fucking bomb and it blows him up.
Blows
Yeah.
up. Yeah.
And that's also like his ego coming out, how cocky
Yeah.
he is.
Yeah,
Like, and he put the way he like just moves it a bit so we can see that it's then a bomb, and then it explodes. It's just so funny. It's like it just shows that basically shows Loki as a character how he's skilled, but he's extremely cocky and extremely egotistical.
yeah.
So great.
It's his ego that gets in the way of his power.
It's his ego and his jealousy, I think,
Yeah.
mainly. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
just so great.
And the fact that a villain has such a personal characteristic as opposed to, you know, some of the other villains in this series who are just literally like grr, evil.
Eve, I want to kill people, and that's it. No
Yes,
real motivation.
I want to also be Iron Man. I want to also be Hulk.
I want to be a god. Yeah.
I want to be Hitler.
And that. So it's like Loki he wants to be a king, and his whole point is that humans, they need to be ruled. It's their natural state. That's what he thinks.
There's some chilling scenes where he's like, oh, freedom. Like he's like, freedom is no more. Like there's no such thing. You know?
You need to be free from freedom.
Yeah.
I love the scene where the guy in Germany stands up and is like, not to men like you. And he says, like, there are always men like you. Like, that's just a small part of the film, but it's so good. I love that little part. It's like it doesn't affect the whole film as a whole, but it's like just that little bit.
And then also in that scene, like the first time I watched this, I probably didn't get it at all. But then when Captain America turns up and says, the last time I was in Germany, like seeing people kneeling to one man, like, you know, he was talking about the war. We disagreed.
Yeah.
And I was like, the first time I would have watched that, I'd be like, I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. But like this time I was like, oh my God, I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
That's just the beauty of the MCU.
And then that scene is like it's now comparing Loki to Hitler, which is it's in such a clever way.
Yeah, like you don't like think about it that way, but the way that the writing for that is done so well, and you see that comparison, it's like it's just the small little things that make this film so great as well.
And because of that, it makes Captain America being that hero that you know being that like sort of like soldier. It makes it, for me anyway, it makes it way more interesting to see him against these characters as opposed to in First Avenger where it felt like it was all eggs in one basket, whereas here Captain America being that same character against these other characters is so much more interesting. I find him against Loki, him against Tony Stark, him against Thor, him against Hulk. That is just it's so brilliant.
Yeah, I would agree. It's so like just the villain has done so well. Loads of the characters have done well, and they bounce off each other so well. It's like there's just so much good in this thing, and like it's so cleverly written. That's the main thing for me. It's so cleverly written.
Oh yeah, and
it's like
the transitions in this film as well. Like when someone will be talking about one thing and then it cuts to what they're talking about, but someone else is there. I think like Captain America was like, oh, he's talking about when he got dunked in the ocean, and then it cuts to Tony Stark in the ocean.
Oh, that's stuff like that, and like when Stark realizes where Loki is and that what Loki is planning, and it cuts to the Stark Tower. Yeah, like. That stuff is so good. Like the transitions in these films are so well done.
Oh my God, yes. Right. So the next character, obviously, is Natasha Romanoff, aka Black Widow. Anthony, how about you start with this one?
I don't know. I think her character obviously is the character of Black Widow is just like, oh, she's a spy. That's it. But it's actually it's more to it than that. It's kind of her introduction in this movie. She's obviously tied up on a chair.
She gets the scene straight after the titles. Like that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, she's tied up, and there's like these Russian mobsters or whatever they are, you know, and they're like threatening her death. And then she gets one of the mobsters gets a call, and he's like, "What the hell? Who is this?" and it's Agent Coulson. He's like, we know where you are. If you like hurt her or kill her or whatever, I'll fly an F-22 and bomb the shit out of you. Put the woman on, and he's just like, well, it's for you. And the other gangsters are like, what the hell is going on, you know? And she immediately like swaps from like speaking Russian to these guys to like, come on, I'm on my mission. Like, let me finish this mission. It's going really well.
I'm working here.
Yeah,
it's like, it
I'm
makes her
doing
feel
my
like
job,
she's in
you know?
control.
Yeah,
It's
well,
so funny.
she is, you know, and then because straight after that, she beats the crap out of these three mobsters and just walks out like it's nothing, and she's like, "Oh, yep, I'm gonna go do this now."
She probably got herself arrested just so she could get information from them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It puts the character kind of in the viewer's eyes. You're like, oh, damn, you know, like she's all tied up and shit, and then she gets out of it like a snap, and you're like, oh no, she's fine. Which is good. It because back then in was it 2010, that would have broken the female stereotypes in these movies.
Yeah.
Which I am that's very good.
Oh yeah, no, I think she really plays a big role in this movie, like more than I remember. Like she actually recruits Bruce Banner, and she like fucking recruits Hawkeye, and she's like the one that closes the breach when Tony Stark blows up the spaceship. Like she's actually a very big part of this movie, and and also interrogating Loki as well. They use her really well. It's especially hard to balance all these characters together in this movie, especially when you got big names like Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, Hulk, Loki, and yet she still plays a big role.
Yeah. Just Black Widow in this film is so good. Like I mentioned, like with Loki, that scene with him and Black Widow is so good. Just like how we learn a little bit more about Black Widow and like her like friendship with Barton. I think it's one of those like things where like when I watched this like years ago, I never really thought about it. I never really was caring for it, but then watching it back and really getting into these characters, it's made me realize how good of a character Black Widow is, and it only makes me more excited going forward, like how she develops as a character.
Oh, and going back to what we were saying before about characters saying something and then it comes back to them later. Like literally when she meets Bruce Banner in Brazil, he's giving in that whole scene. He warns her. He's like, "You need to be aware that there's this danger within me," and she's all like, "No, we'll be fine." But then later on the carrier ship, he turns into Hulk when she's around, and she's running for her life.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's like it's so.
And like just before he turns into Big Hulk, like he gives her this look. He's all green. And he gives this look. He's just like, I fucking told you this would happen.
He's like, fuck, you did it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a like almost like a sympathetic look. Like he knows what's about to happen. He knows that
he's
something
just like, run,
losing control.
Run away.
The Hulk is going to attack the first thing it sees. So.
Yeah, and then the fact that she runs like that sequence where she runs from him and he's just bursting all of like he's basically it's like the floor is lava, like he's the lava, and then that transitions perfectly into like his fight with Thor. Yeah,
it's just Black Widow's great. Scarlett Johansson does a fantastic performance.
Yeah.
So pretty much
the only one little niggle I have is that she's slightly corny with the comedy sometimes, but apart from that, she's basically perfect in this movie.
Yeah. And obviously, like comedy is subjective as well. So like, it's what you find funny as well. So but
yeah, true.
It's very small bits that could have been better, but it's like still fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, this movie is very, 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 very heavy on the comedy. So it's like. There's only going to be so much that you're going to like, and there's going to be bits that you might not. Yeah. But I'm sure there are some people that thought her dialogue was funny.
Yeah, like this is like this is the point where these films had a lot of comedy in it. Obviously, you got films like Iron Man and Iron Man 2, which obviously with a character like Tony Stark, it's going to have funny elements to it. There's going to be a lot of comedy. This was really the point where there was comedy in almost every scene. Yeah, just a little bit to make you laugh. So.
Yeah. And I would, in any normal situation, like a normal movie, I would say this is too much. But the thing is, it's just so fucking funny that I can
Yeah.
let it go.
Yeah, there's so
Like,
many moments that's so memorable in terms of comedy.
yeah, like if the jokes didn't land, I would be complaining about how there's too much comedy. But
Mhm.
because most of them are really funny, like I can let it go. They get away with it,
Yeah,
and it actually
Yeah.
enhances the film
I would agree with that. Yeah.
and gives it that kind of classic comic book feel to it as well.
Yeah, I think that's the sort of thing that the previous movies lacked a bit. That little bit of
Like Incredible Hulk,
yeah,
definitely.
definitely.
Yeah.
Iron Man 2 at times. First Avenger, I would say as well. It's
Oh,
like
yeah.
this is like the one of the missing pieces
But
of the
I think
puzzle.
I
of
think
comedy
with
and
First
how it,
Avenger,
yeah.
I think with First Avenger, it's because Captain America by himself is quite a serious character most
Yeah.
of the time.
Yeah.
There's a
Well,
little
even,
bit of comedy. Oh, were you gonna say
yeah.
Anthony?
No, I was just gonna say, like, even in the comics, the Captain America comics are not funny at all. Like, there's next to no humor in them. It's all just like serious business, army, or like spy or whatever. Um, yeah, as opposed to like an Iron Man comic, which has like a couple of jokes in it, and like he's this playboy who's banging supermodels every other night. So you know,
Yeah,
comparing the two, there's that clear line of like humor and seriousness.
yeah. But then when you put all the characters together, the humor goes in like it's so good.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
And Captain America becomes funny when he gets put around these characters.
Well, it's him reacting to whatever these other characters do, which is, as we've said before, um, he's kind of this old dude, like the old
Yeah,
grandpa. They're like,
yeah.
"Oh, just call him up," and he's like, "What? How do you do what? How do you do that?"
Yeah,
You
it's
know?
so funny how like especially like Captain America and Thor are literally that you could not get two people that are more different. Like
Yeah,
Captain America's from the past and Thor is from another planet.
yeah. Well, there's that line in the helicarrier after Thor takes Loki, and I think Maria Hill is like, "You be careful, Cap. Like this dude's basically a god," and he goes, "There's only one God, ma'am, and I'm pretty sure he doesn't dress like that." Just like jumps out of the plane. Like that's such a good line, and it
Oh,
like it just connects with the
and
character of Captain
and it's
America.
so
Like he's
funny.
this old guy,
It's so
Christian.
funny. Like the best part is that he doesn't know he's being funny. It's the
Yeah, no.
audience.
Yeah,
It's only
yeah.
the
No,
audience that knows.
that's his legitimate reaction. He's like, that. I'm pretty sure like God doesn't dress like that, man. And it's like, dude.
Oh, it's just so funny. But yeah, no. Anything else to say about Black Widow before we move on?
I think we've talked about everything. I think. Yeah,
Yep.
with
Cool.
Black Widow.
Obviously the last member of that sort of team, I guess you could say, is Clinton Barton, aka Hawkeye, who was introduced in this movie, right?
He's in
No,
Thor.
he was in
very
Thor.
briefly.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Remember
no,
the
that's
scene? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we mentioned how like the guys talking about how like, are you gonna tell me to shoot him because I'm kind of starting to root for him.
yeah,
And stuff like that. It's
that's
very
true.
brief. I
But
didn't
he's
even
not-
realize he was in Thor
but
until
he's
like
not-
a couple of years ago.
He's not really unleashed until this movie, though.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
And even then, my biggest problem with this film is that he is like out of the film for like 2/3 of it.
Yeah,
That's the
Yeah.
biggest problem I have with this film because you can't.
Yeah.
The whole thing is like, who cares about Hawkeye? That's the biggest thing from everybody when they talk about the MCU. Is like, who cares about Hawkeye? And
Yeah.
it doesn't help that he's out of the film for basically 2/3
Yeah,
under mind
unfortunately-
control.
Unfortunately, we don't get enough character development with him. But
Exactly.
luckily, in the action scenes, I think the actor pulls it off
Yeah.
really well.
Yeah,
He's a very
he
physical
picks it up.
actor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
he's also quite funny as well. I love how he wants to kill Loki. It's like when Thor says, I have unfinished business with Loki. And he's like,
Well, he
yeah,
nearly
get
does.
in line.
He nearly
Yeah,
does when
exactly.
he blows him up with his arrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, Hawkeye is a character. I do like Hawkeye as a character, but it's just like, obviously, like I said, the biggest problem is that he's out of it for 2/3 under mind control.
Yeah.
And it's just like, no one
Yeah.
can really buy him, like, can get into him as a hero or character because we don't learn anything about him till he finally gets out of the trance.
Yeah.
Like, near
Um,
at the end of the second act.
I think his strength in this movie is more in like the stunts, though. Like he's a very like physical actor. Like there's lots of like the bow and arrow thing is a good gimmick to have. And he just provides sort of good like he's really useful for like the what's the word, the action stuff, like basically the action climax in the second half of the movie, like because where they do all those shots and where they sort of experimented with them. Like I think the first one was Incredible Hulk with like the blood dropping into the beer bottle or the drink bottle, whatever. They did a lot of shots with him shooting arrows, and the camera would follow the arrow.
Yeah.
And that would help transition between all the different fights going on.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, when it like goes from Iron Man and Captain America, Iron Man flows up, and then it's on Hawkeye shooting, and then the arrow follows them to Thor and Hulk on the big thing, fighting all the other creatures and stuff. Like but when he's used well, he's used very well, I would say.
Yeah, and it's just
that we don't
unfortunate
learn about him as a character.
It's just unfortunate we didn't get a backstory for him in Phase 1.
No.
Yeah.
But it's not.
He's definitely the least developed character out of all the Avengers.
It's unfortunately one of those things where he just didn't really fit in with Thor enough to be in it more.
Yeah, he's in it for like 3 minutes or like a minute and stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I think even then, like that whole scene was like, oh, here's an Easter egg. You know, like people who read comics.
That's more what it is. Yeah.
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 But yeah, I think as a character, Hawkeye is kind of like, oh, you know, he's the dude with the bow and arrow, you know?
Yeah, he's
He
definitely
shoots real good.
He's by far the weakest link as a character when it comes to the Avengers in this movie.
Yeah. No, but like rewatching it today, there's that scene where I think one of the Chitauri ships that crashes into the building he's on, and he like jumps, does a 180 flip, and shoots an arrow onto that building, and then swings into a window. Like I saw that, and I was like, "Whoa, damn!"
Oh yeah,
I've underestimated him. Like
I've got a bit of trivia about that stunt later as well.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I rewatched that scene. I was like, "Whoa, that's really fucking cool. I like that."
Yeah, I think also like he's also one of those. Even though you don't really know who he is, like if you're a kid watching, like he's a very fun character to watch.
Yeah, he's
just
fun.
do
Yeah,
his stuff.
absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. I assume he's in like the future movies, right?
Yes, he is. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yep.
Because I want to get to know him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there's not really much more to say about Hawkeye.
Yeah, he's the least developed out of all of them, and he doesn't really get any backstory at all. You just know that he's good friends with Black Widow, and he's part of S.H.I.E.L.D., but then that's pretty much it, other than he shoots real good.
He's a bloody good archer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right, the next character, obviously, is Nick Fury, played by the wonderful Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah.
I was the whole movie I was anticipating like when he was gonna like say something cool, and then I can't remember exactly what he says, but he like it takes him a while, but when he gets there, he says something like ass, and it's so perfectly timed.
Yeah, I remember the line. Yeah. He's like, I recognize that the council has made a decision, but I recognize it as a stupid ass decision. I am going to ignore it and stuff like that. That's that's so Samuel L. Jackson, like. That's what, and I love Nick Fury in this film as well. This is the biggest role he's had in the MCU so far. Like he's been a few scenes in the other films. This is the movie where he's like an actual character.
Yeah.
So, and he's really fun to watch. It's just like that classic like Samuel Jackson type acting.
Yeah.
But it's Nick Fury, and it's so well done.
It's not just his like humorous and badass side, but it's also like the beginning of the film with Loki being introduced. He was such a great foil for Loki when he came to Earth. Because Samuel Jackson is such a badass presence, but then to see the fact that he's like, what the hell's going on here? Like to see him fear really elevates the like how big this situation is.
Mm-hmm. You understand that it's a big threat. You're like, oh shit, he's worried. I should be worried.
Yeah. And I one of my favorite moments in the film from Nick Fury is when Coulson dies and he throws the cards on the table, and the Captain America one is covered in blood, and obviously Captain America picks it up, and we find out like about 5 minutes later that they weren't in Coulson's jacket. Nick Fury purposely got the card, put some flake blood on it, and showed it to them to give them that push.
Yeah,
that's one of the things I
motivate
love
them.
about it. Yeah, I love that little bit from Nick Fury. It's a nice little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, he's just kind of like, he's their boss, you could say. Their enforcer.
Yeah, he's the head of that section of S.H.I.E.L.D. So
yeah, no, he is.
Yeah, he's the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. So, and I think that Nick Fury in this film, it's so like nice to see him have a bigger role than he has so far, like I mentioned. But it's nice to have him have like a actual main character role and have an actual character. So I'm very happy with Nick Fury in this film.
Yeah, I love that line where Iron Man just like, how does he see these screens?
He turns. Sounds exhausting.
What's the actual story behind how he lost his eye? Why he has the patch on?
We find out in the MCU.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm not going to spoil it.
Well, we're not going to say anything, but yeah, we'll just say that you do find out why.
Okay, okay, I'm fascinated. But yeah, nah.
No comment.
Anything you want to say, Anthony, about Nick Fury?
I like that. I like the kind of role he's given in this movie. It is his, as of that time, as of 2010, that was his largest role in the MCU, in any MCU movie.
Yeah.
And it was a good one. I really liked it. I liked the character that the kind of motivation and that push he gives the Avengers, and also that kind of Nick Fury attitude, as you said before, like I've elected, that's a stupid ass decision. It gives that character a bit more flavor,
Yeah. Yeah. And and wasn't it like, I can't remember exactly what they said, but like there was like, they had original plans for the Tesseract, but then because the shit started happening, they're like, no, we need to actually have the Avengers come together and save the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do love the whole little subplot where like when everybody finds out their shield, we're going to use the Tesseract to make weapons. Then that's like what causes the real conflict between everybody.
Yeah,
I do love how and I think that's, I would say, I'm not going to spoil anything, but I do think that gets continued on, that sort of subplot in future films. I'm not going to say where or when, but I like how they sort of hint at it here. It's sort of Well, so that was, when we get to it, we'll get to it.
Yeah. That was another like you said, like a little side plot I didn't notice first time around. Yeah. This time I was like, oh, damn! Like that was in this movie. Holy shit! Like they planned way back.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I love how like Tony, as soon as he gets onto the helicarrier, he's like trying to find out every dirty secret that S.H.I.E.L.D. has.
He sticks his little like data thing on,
and then
he's like,
Captain America just goes off and finds the files and finds the weapons himself. He's like,
yeah.
Sorry, the computer was a bit too slow for me.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah. But yeah, I love how that subplot is sort of started here. So I'm looking forward to that.
Oh yeah, me too.
And then like, I'm pretty sure it was like Bruce Banner was like, he was sort of seeing it like on his computer as well, but he just didn't want to pay attention because I gotta stay calm.
Yeah, and I love how they have like on the helicarrier a prison for the Hulk, like just in case. Like, but obviously they use that for Loki. It's like, it's just little things like that I really really like.
Well, because that links in with Nick Fury's character. He has a plan for every little thing, so it's obviously like, here's his plan if the Hulk like goes rogue on the helicarrier. He's like, I've got this little container thing.
Yeah.
And then like when they get Loki, they're like, oh, he came really easily, and they're like, oh, just put him in the Hulk container.
I love how he had a plan for literally everything except for what happened.
Yeah.
You just couldn't anticipate that Loki was like, oh, I'm just going to bring Leviathans to the world.
What one line that I really like that Nick has is when he's talking to Thor. He's like, "Why do I have the feeling that Loki is the only one who wants to be here?" And that just like that plays into Loki's plan, like that sort of like there's something up with Loki, like so easy it was to catch him. There's
Yeah,
just something about him that makes it feel like he wants to be here, and obviously that's his plan. He wants to get captured and he wants to unleash the Hulk. And
Yeah.
it's like I love how Nick Fury sort of has a feeling and susses it out almost.
And remember how
So-
he's got like that whole prison cell like planned, just in case, and then it like ends up nearly killing Thor.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
It's like almost like all these precautions that Nick Fury's putting in the way are actually being weapons being used against them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, even Shield itself, when the council elects to launch a missile into New York, like, and he shoots one of them down with an RPG, but then there's another one goes away and he pulls out his handgun, but it's like he's not going to stop it with a handgun, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's like so much is like playing against him, which I like as well.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the Nick Fury's role in this movie was just to show how you can't prepare for like, you just can't prepare for like what's going to happen sometimes.
Yeah, it's like so big, you can't prepare for it almost. Yeah,
And if you over prepare, you'll completely fuck things up really badly.
exactly.
Yeah. It's weird to think that Samuel L. Jackson is like such an anxious OCD character, but it's funny. It's funny to me.
As I'm always surprised to find out like how old Samuel Jackson is. Like he's like really old at this point, and he just doesn't look his age. He looks so much younger than he actually is.
Well, he's just got so much energy.
Yeah, exactly. Even now, like he's got so much energy and he's so charismatic as a person and actor.
Damn.
70 years old. I did not know that. Holy shit.
Yeah, he's old.
Damn, son. I didn't know that. You learn something every day.
Yeah. But Mace Windu's dead.
Oh, well.
Oh, dear. Phil Coulson. Was it Adam that said he thought this character was overrated or something? Or was it another character?
I'm not too sure.
I think it was
might have been.
I think it was the one that was from Iron Man 2.
Yeah, because Phil Coulson's in that film quite a bit.
Oh yeah,
because we talk about how he goes to New Mexico, which then plays into Thor.
Thor.
So I think he might have mentioned it. So
yeah, I think Adam said somewhere that he thought he was overrated, and I guess I sort of see why. The thing is like they do treat his death like it's this big deal, and to the characters in the movie it would make sense, but because the audience doesn't really know him that well, it does kind of feel like his death seems like a bigger deal than it should for us.
Yeah.
So I can see where he's coming from there, but at the same time, he served his purpose in the story, and his death had a massive impact on the character.
It has a meaning.
Yeah.
And I do like how that plays into just before we find out where Loki is and what his plan is, and the conversation between Captain America and Tony Stark, and America is like, "Is this the first time you've lost a soldier?" And then Stark is like, "We are not soldiers." Like that little bit, I do really, really like, and I think it, as a character, there's not much to Agent Coulson's character, though he does get a bit here when he's a massive Captain America fan, and he has.
When he dies, he has a fucking funny line, like when he shoots Loki with that gun, he's like, "Oh, that's what it does."
Yeah, exactly. Like he doesn't know what the gun does. He dies, and then he shoots Loki. It's like that's really funny.
Like
just like the character, he doesn't
laugh,
have that much development. Yeah, he gets the last laugh, which I really, really like. It's just as a character, he doesn't get as much development as maybe I would probably like. But I do like the way his death is handled and the way that plays into the Avengers as characters.
Yeah,
I do like that.
If this was like a TV show, we'd probably have gotten like episodes that focus on Hawkeye and Coulson that would have developed them. But unfortunately, because this is a movie series, there's only so much you can do within the time you have with the really minor characters. Yeah,
Phil Coulson is in obviously Iron Man. He's not in Hulk, but he's in Iron Man 2, and then he's in Thor for quite a bit, I would say. So we had like 3 films with him, but there's never really been any sort of true development. It's just here when he gets a little bit more, so we get a little bit extra. But I think the best part about it is that his death has weight to it, and it affects the Avengers to the core. So that's what I think he serves his purpose.
Yeah, what did you think, Anthony?
Because I like I obviously said before, I didn't really watch like all the Marvel movies before this one when it first came out. And his death, like you guys were saying, it was kind of just like, oh, okay, that sucks, you know. And then later on in the film, Iron Man confronts Loki, and he like shoots him or something, and then he says, that was from one more person. His name was Phil. As a kid, I was like, haha, it's another funny. Who's Phil? That's silly. It took me like 2 years to like click and be like, it was Phil Coulson he was talking about. He was talking about Phil Coulson. That's kind of like how little his death affects me watching. Like I didn't really. I was just like, oh, yep, he's gone now. Rewatching the movies, kind of seeing the roles he played in, like you guys said, Iron Man 2 and Thor, and that was it, right?
And Iron Man 1 as well.
Yeah,
and
he's in Iron Man 1
Iron Man 1. Yeah, you can kind of see a slow but steady, not really steady, but like a slow increase in his character, and it kind of builds, you know. And then in the beginning of Avengers, he's so keen to meet Captain America, and he's like, oh, you were my hero as a kid, I had your trading cards, blah, blah, blah. I think that was Marvel trying to like make the death a bit more impactful, but I think it slipped a little there.
Yeah. They tried to give him a little bit more development, really.
Yeah.
Just so you could care about his death, so it has more weight to it.
Yeah, it was just kind of too little, too late, though. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, like I said, if this was a TV show with episodes, you probably would have gotten more development with him.
Yeah.
It's just unfortunately, these movies can only focus on so many characters.
I was gonna say it's interesting you say that because do you know about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Connor?
I've heard about it.
That whole series started with the revival of Phil Coulson.
Oh, right.
So like the big first episode is like the main character. I don't remember names. I don't watch the show, but I remember the thing, like the ad for it, and it was like, "Welcome to level 7 of S.H.I.E.L.D. I'm Agent Coulson and I'm not dead." And like the main character's like, "Wait, what?" And it's like, it's real silly, but apparently the show's good in the latest seasons. But the whole thing is that they brought that character back for I think it's an ABC show. I'm probably wrong.
I'm probably never gonna watch it. It sounds
it
doesn't sound very good.
Many seasons now. They have really good characters like Ghost Rider in it, but I still haven't watched it. I probably won't watch it. But yeah, just for your information, like now you know that Marvel was like, oh, that was a good character. Let's bring him back.
Yeah, that kind of I don't know. Reminds me of Hellbent.
Oh, well.
Maybe not quite as bad, but
no,
it's the same thing, really. It's like, why would you bring him back if his death is so important to the Avengers storyline? Why would you bring him back?
I don't know. I honestly I can't say much. I haven't seen any of that series at all. So I mean, they might have handled it really well. I have no idea.
Who knows? So another character we got in this film, I don't think she was in any of the others. I'm pretty sure she was introduced in this one. It was Maria Hill from S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yes.
This
is the first film.
She's played by the same actress from How I Met Your Mother, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember. I noticed that when I first watched the movie. I was like, "What the hell?" It's
Robin.
She's
a part of it, I guess.
Yeah. She doesn't actually have like a character. She's just like part of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
She's likable, but
Yeah, she's
and
just
she's
kind
got
of
a bit of
she's kind
action.
of just
But, yeah.
she's just sort of Nick Fury's right hand woman.
Yeah, exactly.
It's basically an assistant in a sense. That's the way it's sort of displayed. I don't think she's
Yeah.
like a personal assistant, but
Yeah.
that's in service to the film. That's
If
what it's like.
if this
yeah.
was Star Wars, she'd be one of the people that Darth Vader chokes out when she fucks it up.
Probably
Yeah, yeah. No, absolutely.
Film me for the last time, Admiral.
Yeah. Well, actually, when like in the action scenes, she's quite fun. But other than that, it's like there's not a character. It's not a character
No.
to get your teeth into. So
Well, not in this movie at all. No.
no.
Yeah.
I think that's all we can really say.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
She was just sort of there.
Yeah.
And did a job, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Eric Selvig was in this film, right?
Yep.
Yes, he was.
I'm struggling to remember when.
He's at the first scene of the film. He gets taken under like mind control by Loki, and develops the whole reactor and this portal and stuff.
Yeah.
And he's obviously on the rooftop of Stark Tower at where the machine is. So
Yeah.
he's in it
He
quite
also-
a bit.
He also points the staff out to Black Widow. I didn't notice that first time I watched it. This time around, I saw it.
Yeah, he basically says he put like a way to deactivate it, and it's Loki's scepter. So
Yeah.
Right.
yeah,
So yeah, there's just a couple of characters in this movie that are just sort of part of the clockwork, I'd say.
yeah.
Yeah.
I do like how they bring a character from like another film as well, and it obviously serves the plot as well because he's used to build this portal to be able to bring the Chitauri into New York. And I do like what I like about this film as well. What I like about the mind control and the way that Barton describes it is that it's not like a zombie like mind control. It's more like they have affected their morals because like in the dialogue between him, Barton, and Loki, it's like they believe that this is wonderful. What they're doing. It's like
Yeah.
it affects their morals. That's a small little thing, but I like that's the way they did the mind control. It's more affecting your morals instead of just making like basically just a mindless like worker. So yeah, I would say I do enjoy that little part of the film, and I think him as a character, well, he's again kind of the same as Thor. He's just kind of there, but he puts pieces into place. And it's the same here in Avengers. He's obviously the one that makes the portal, like machine and stuff. He says that, I put like a safeguard in there. We need Loki's scepter and stuff. It moves the plot along. I would say that his whole character is, and it's clever that they've used a character from Thor, like a previous film. So if you've seen that film, you now know who that is. You know what he's about. You know what he can do and stuff. So it's a clever way to move the plot along, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah. Any other side characters we want to talk about?
I think we've talked about them all. I guess you can sort of talk about the council, but they don't get names, but
No.
they're like the side antagonists because they trying to eliminate the situation and bomb New York to get rid of this all. So
Yeah.
and that's sort of a side threat, and that obviously launches the missile for Iron Man to deal with. So, but there's no real character there. So
I guess the only other characters would be like the monster characters, like the Leviathans and the just all the characters that weren't like dialogue roles.
yeah,
I love the scene where Tony Stark says, have you heard the story of Jonah? And then he goes inside the Leviathan like Jonah goes inside the whale in the Bible, and he literally just comes up to the side.
Yeah.
That was really funny.
yeah.
This-
But other than all the characters we've talked about, I don't think there's any like side characters. There's Jarvis, of course, but it's kind of the same as like in the Iron Man films.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I think we've talked about everybody.
No, I think the Leviathans are a pretty cool monster to have in this movie, to be like the force that Loki controls.
Yeah, I agree.
And some of the scenes with like Hulk and Thor and Iron Man like fighting them was pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree.
What's your guys' thoughts on? Because obviously at the end when Black Widow knocks the Tesseract out of the portal device thing, the Chitauri just kind of fall, Attack of the Clones style.
What the reason they fall is because Tony blows up like their main base kind of thing with the missile.
Oh yeah,
That's
Yeah.
why
Yeah.
they basically, in a sense, deactivate in quotations.
Yeah. But I
That's
guess, but what you're basically saying is that they were a hive mind.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can see why, because I know some people are a little bit like nitpicky with hive minds. They're not big on them because it makes it for sort of a one-step ending.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
But
people
at the
can
same
say that
time-
these are very generic monsters.
At the same time, though, it wasn't cheap. Like to get to that point of blowing at that spaceship, it took so much effort.
Well,
Yeah.
it took
And-
2.5 hours to get to that.
Yeah, basically.
You know, so it's like that ending at that point in time. You're like,
And
oh, awesome,
basically,
they did it. you know?
basically, Tony Stark had to be a kamikaze pilot to do it. Like he was just
Yeah.
like, I have to die to save everyone.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
as a character moment, that supersedes like a hive mind plot.
I
Yeah.
would agree with that.
Yeah, I love the scene where he like closes his eyes. He's like accepting that he was gonna die.
Yeah. In a sense, he accepts that he's like going to die. Obviously, he's in space, so like all his power goes out, and he just sort of drifts off back towards the portal. And he's just like, I do love that, but it's so well done the way
Yeah.
like the
And also the
score is
fact that
done
it's, like,
and all that stuff.
Like the fact that the missile is a nuclear missile, therefore they have to close the portal because they don't want to get anyone to get
Before
radiation.
Yeah,
But they have to
yeah.
sacrifice Tony Stark to do it. Like even though he does just in time get through.
Yeah.
Son of a gun.
Yeah, by fucking hell. And then he falls, like nearly dies, and then Hulk catches him, and then it just from there, it's just so
Yells in his face.
it's hilarious.
And then just as Tony Stark normally does, just goes off about something, and this time it's about shawarma.
Yeah, he's like, we
So-
should. There's a place around the corner. We should go.
We should take the day off, guys. Take the next day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Very
it's also
Tony
like
Stark.
there's like a deeper meaning to that. It's not just the comedy, but it's also like he doesn't want to draw attention to himself for like the heroic things he does. He just wants to be a guy.
Yeah, he's like,
exactly.
whatever. Let's go get some food. I'm hungry.
Yeah.
Good job, everyone.
Yeah.
Hey, well done, guys. We did it.
Oh, and I love the fact because in all the other MCU movies up to this point, Stan Lee's cameos have been at like the start of the movie, whereas this one happens
Or like midway through,
literally-
yeah.
literally,
Right at
and
the
it like
end.
I love it how it's like it's just after they've saved everyone,
Yeah.
and he literally
Yeah.
turns around and says, "Superheroes in New York." Like you
Give
gotta
me
be
a
kidding!
break.
Give me a break. Like, but it's almost like in a way, it's almost like him saying, "Well done, you made
Yeah.
you made my vision into a movie."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do love how it comes after the climax. So there's no point in the film itself, like the important plot, where it doesn't like interrupt it. It doesn't take you out of it. I love how that's so cleverly done, where it's literally right after the climax. It's like,
Yeah.
and it's so satisfying as well and rewarding as well.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Cameo. It's so well
Yeah.
done.
This movie I nearly forgot about it, because it is at the end, and I saw it. I was like, oh yes, oh my god, it's like you said, it's such a rewarding feeling,
Yeah.
you know.
Also, there's a little bit in that same bit with all like the newscast stuff and all that. There's a little bit where there's someone who's talk about these heroes have to take responsibility with this. It was their fight. Where are they now? And that's also another little subplot that starts right here. I'm not going to mention where like it comes
Yeah,
up again,
yeah.
but and again, brilliant like universe building. There's
Yeah,
something that
absolutely.
also gets started here. So it's like just that those little things that build this universe up and make it so lived in and grounded.
Yeah.
I just love
There-
stuff
there-
like that.
There was also a character. I think he was actually in Thor as well. I won't spoil anything, but he comes back later, and I was really surprised to see because they use the same actor, and I was like, oh my god, you know. I'm not gonna spoil anything. Sorry,
Right.
Connor. But I don't even know. Like, you'll probably see it and be like, oh yep, it's another character.
Right.
Right.
But yeah, no, this film has such like a wholesome ending.
Yeah.
It's just so it just
Yeah.
makes you feel so good inside.
Yeah, exactly. Like the last shot is when we're back after the scene with like Nick saying like they'll come back because we'll need them to, and then it goes to Tony Stark and Pepper trying to like planning to
Yeah,
rebuild the tower, but then it pans out and it's just the A, it's the Avengers
yeah,
logo, and
yeah,
then that's where the field ends. That's so fucking good. I love that
yeah.
shot and the
Like
music, the score,
it
all that.
almost like I would say it even possibly tops the ending from Iron Man 1 where he says I am Iron Man.
Yeah,
Like
I would say so.
it's
It
like
gives me
even
such
more
chills.
brilliant because
Yeah,
it's like
it's
it's
just
so
like
subtle.
yeah.
It's so subtle.
It's like
Yeah.
some people would probably miss that. Like some people can miss
Yeah.
that, but
And it
it's
reminds me of
yeah,
you know the Doctor Who episode The Girl in the Fireplace when at the very end of the
yeah.
story the
Good. We
ship
talked
pans
about
up
this.
and it
Yeah,
says Madame de Pompadour. Like it's the
yeah,
same thing, but it's like it's on such a big scale and
yeah,
it's like oh it's like the era
yeah,
of the Avengers has begun and
yeah.
it's such a great ending.
Yeah, and that's the going on from like that. I was about to mention that the score when that's being played, the score in this film is fucking brilliant.
Oh
The
yeah, the
score for the score for the Avengers as well, the Avengers theme is one of my favorite pieces of
it's
music
our
of all time.
it's our generation's Star Wars.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I would say the MCU is our generation of Star Wars. I would
Yeah,
say
Yeah.
it's
yeah,
like the Avengers theme is just so heroic, but not like in the first Avenger where it's so patriotic.
yeah,
It's just so when you hear it, it's so satisfying and gives me
yeah,
chills every time. I
yeah,
bloody love it. It's
yeah.
so good,
Mm.
and it's like I think it's the same composer as in the first Avenger. It's Alan
Yeah,
Silvestri, and
yeah,
it's like it's so weird. Like he goes from first Avenger as like your like flaws with like the score in the last film, as it feels so patriotic, and this
yeah,
film it just feels so rewarding and heroic. It's not.
yeah.
It doesn't feel like tacked on. It feels so important to the film. I just
Oh yeah.
love the score in this film.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, the it's just I never said that I thought he wasn't a good
No, yeah, yeah,
composer because he is. It's just the creative choices they made in the first Avenger I was a little bit off with, but in this film he knocked it out of the park. This is a
yeah.
famous score now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, everyone knows this. Even if you have never watched an Avengers film, you will hear this and recognize what it is.
Yeah,
You'll recognize it from somewhere. It's such a famous and fantastic score.
yeah. Um. So yeah, I mean the plot of this film we basically outlined the whole thing, but
Yeah.
I think it just impresses me not only the balance of tone, like between like the serious threat, but also the comedic
Yeah.
play between the characters, but also the fact that they just managed to have all these characters in. I mean, obviously this happens to a bigger scale later on, but
Yeah.
just at this time period. To have all these characters from these movies come together in one film and the way they've balanced them out so well,
Yeah.
apart from maybe Hawkeye and
Yeah, that's the one exception. That's the one
Yeah.
exception. Everyone else has done so well. It's so well balanced. Like the actual plot itself is such a great like team assembling plot.
Yeah.
It's like everything about it, the conflict
like,
between the
The
characters.
first the first half of this film is predominantly exposition, but it's done
Yeah.
so well.
Yeah, it's done so well. There's like a few action scenes here and there, like the very beginning of the film where the whole base is falling apart. Then you've got like Captain America versus Thor, and like with Iron Man versus Thor as well. There's just little bits, and then when it gets to the second act onwards, it's just pure satisfying action. It's just
Yeah.
so well done. It's so well balanced, and structurally, it's so well done as well. It's so like
Yeah.
the pacing is great.
And this is a
builds on it,
movie
yeah.
that's like this movie is the same length as 2003 Hulk, but the pacing is like it just shows how far good writing goes.
Yeah, exactly. It's like
Absolutely.
Would you
a
agree?
film can
Anthony?
feel so long. With poor writing, a film can feel like it drags on and lasts like 4 hours. But with a film like this, it flies by. But you can enjoy every single second of it. It's
Yeah.
like
Well,
so good.
yeah. What were you gonna say, Anthony?
No, I was saying the way, kind of like you guys were saying, how it's 2.5 hours, but you like don't at all notice that until you're done and you're like, oh shit, it's 6 o'clock. Opposed to another infamous superhero meetup movie, Justice League, which was, in my opinion, just horribly done.
It's an ugly film.
Yeah, it's not pretty. This
Right.
movie, Avengers, it takes its time. It builds up. You know, you got to wait for the good parts, and when you get to them, oh man, they're fantastic.
It's just like, I mean, this is quite a crass term, but it's basically orgasmic.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
it,
I
like
would
I'm
agree,
not
though.
gonna
That's the
lie, like
best
you're
way to
right,
describe
you
it.
know.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, they went at this thing going for like we're gonna do a team up movie, and I think they really nailed it in
Mhm.
terms of kind of making the viewers wait. You know, it's like I think you get what like 55 minutes in before you get Iron Man who meets up with Captain America and Black Widow, and you know they actually get Loki and chuck him on the ship.
Yeah. Yeah.
As
And
opposed to Justice League, where it's like, here's Batman, here's Wonder Woman, here's Flash. Oh, bam, they're together now, and it's like, what?
Mhm.
There's
nah.
no context. Whereas this is like, they all have the common enemy is Loki. They've all got the common enemy, Loki. Loki is Thor's brother. Thor's there too now. Makes sense. It all connects.
It just it takes the like what's so brilliant about family drama and puts it in a superhero context.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I think that's why the characters feel like they bounce off each other in a way that everyone can relate to.
Yeah. I agree.
Like it's and then like the fact that there's so much conflict and so much build up makes it so satisfying when you get those iconic shots of like the Avengers standing together and
yeah,
with that music, that theme playing in the background with them all standing there. It's just some of the most famous like cinema you'll ever watch.
Yeah. Yeah. Like it's just there's so many pieces of film that are so well done. It's like the film itself is just fantastic. We all say it's just a fantastic film. Everything's done so right. There's only like a couple flaws with it, and even then you can.
Yeah.
It's like it doesn't bring the film down in any way. It's just this film just does everything so right.
Yeah. And you know what
Structure,
surprised
plot, music, all that.
You know what really surprises me is that this film, obviously, we know Joss Whedon wrote the majority of this film, but it's co-written by Zach Penn, who's the same guy who
Yeah.
did Incredible Hulk 2008.
Yeah.
yeah,
And it's just like, it's so crazy to think that, he went from that to this.
Yeah, like I think he did the story with Josh Whedon, and it's like it's
Yeah.
so weird to think that it's just like there's two writers who've done a fantastic story. This plot is just so good, and
Yeah.
it all makes sense.
And
It's all at a
it's
good
almost
pace.
like, it's almost poetic how it's like what you can do as a team can sometimes be so much more than by yourself.
Yeah.
Because like Zach Penn with Joss Whedon is so much more valuable to like as together, bouncing off each other, as opposed
Yeah.
to Zach Penn by himself.
Yeah. I think they work together really well. Josh Whedon's direction is so good
Oh,
in this film.
it's
Just like
brilliant.
there's so many fantastic shots. There's so many great transitions. Just
Yeah.
like he
And, like,
has done
and-
a fantastic job.
And
with
like a
this
lot
film.
of action movies, like they go for the whole cheap, like fast moving, close up, shaky cam stuff. Whereas this movie does all the like wide panning shots,
Mhm.
showing you everything in full view, and it's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah, exactly. Like the CGI as well, I'd say is like it's still as good as it looks.
Yeah,
Like,
this is
as in
this is a
when it
movie
released
that's
in 2012.
It's 7 years old.
Yeah, it came out in
7 years.
2012, and it looks better than most films that are coming out today.
Yeah,
Like it's so weird like, how well this film looks, and it just feels so good as well when you're watching it. It's like it feels so realistic, but it's like a comic book film, but just like the characters feel so rich, they feel so developed, it's just so rewarding. This film, as we keep saying, because this is the culmination of phase one, and the biggest thing I take away from me is that it's so rewarding.
it's like
for
the
me-
definition.
yeah.
It's the definition of a season finale, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
but like in cinema, like on a big scale.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. Anthony, anything you want to say about like the direction?
No, I think it's very well done. And also, I think it's Disney in general, really. They're extremely good at hiding spoilers, which I'm a big fan of that.
except for the Last Jedi trailer.
Oh well, we don't talk about that. That's a different. That's Lucasfilm Disney. This is Marvel
True.
Disney.
To be
They're
fair,
two different studios. There's one's in California and the other's I don't care where the other one is.
Jakku.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, I think this film even today looks incredible.
Yeah, it's so well done.
And the fact that it manages to go to so many different locations as well, but they all feel like they're part of the same story.
Yeah, it's like this.
And that's so interesting because, like, when you watch the MCU films in Phase 1, like individual films, they all look so different. But then this film manages to put all those different visual elements together in one movie, and it feels consistent.
Yeah, it works. It feels like it works, and I just love this film. It's just it's just so well done.
Yeah, and it's no surprise that Joss Whedon was chosen for this film because before this he did Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Angel, Firefly, Dollhouse, and he also wrote Toy Story.
Yeah,
like he's got
a great resume.
Yeah, great resume. And he also went on to do Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Age of Ultron, and Justice League.
Yeah.
Although the Justice League one was kind of a bit like half and half between two directors.
It's half and half, and it was a really shitty situation as well. So
yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Because I bet DC's bummed because they wanted that to be just like this movie.
Yeah.
Well, that like I think after what happened, with Zack Snyder, DC were like, all right, who's the next best option? And they probably went, well, who did Avengers? Get that guy. Just get him. And they were like, oh, but Zack's already done like the first half of the movie or whatever he had done. They're like, oh, just mash it. It doesn't matter. Just mash it. And I think that's like that with a couple other things is parts of the reason why that movie failed.
Yeah.
And it's funny because there are people who kind of, you say, oh, Joss Whedon, they go, oh, yuck, Justice League. And you're like, yeah, but Avengers. Come on, Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, like, honestly, this is, like, I mean, I don't mean to doom his future, but, like, this movie is probably going to be the highlight of his whole life. Like, it's literally the pinnacle for him.
Yeah, I would say so.
He absolutely knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
In almost every way. Like, direction, writing, characters, everything he did in this movie.
Yeah.
Just
I agree.
such a success.
Yeah.
Like imagine
this film was a massive success.
Like imagine if this film imagine if this film failed. Like imagine if this was like Justice League. Like it would have been so disappointing, but it wasn't. And it still isn't. You can watch this movie over and over and it's still great.
Yeah.
Like it's aged so well.
And then and then when you watch the individual movies, it gets better because with context.
Yeah, exactly. You get the characters. Like you don't feel like you have to learn the characters in this film if you haven't watched the others. It's like it's like learning about them in those films and then seeing them here, knowing what they've gone through, and the way it like plays off that and the way it pays some of it off. Like for example, the Thor and Loki situation. That is like a big example of that. And it's done so well in this film as well. It just makes everything around it better. It makes the MCU grander. It feels more lived in, like I've said. Joss Whedon was a great choice for this.
Oh, yeah. And obviously, I mean, we've already basically gone over it already. But in terms of the music, like that, the theme, the Avengers theme, it's going to stick with people for life.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so iconic. And it's like every time you listen to it in a film or you just listen to it in general, it's like so well composed. It's like so many elements to it that just give me chills.
Yeah,
it's like,
and then they play it throughout the film, like during the most heroic moments as well.
Yeah. Yeah, obviously, like exactly. Yeah, the iconic shot is when Hulk, like I mentioned, Hulk comes out. He finally arrives, and you get that extremely well-directed pan shot of all of them all gearing up, and then you got the big shot of just all six of them looking up with the score in the background, and it's like absolute perfection.
Yeah. And I'm so gutted that I never got to see this in cinemas because I can imagine it would
I
be
did.
so.
I loved it in cinemas, man.
Yeah,
it
it
was
was
so
pretty
good to
decent.
watch. Yeah, I loved it.
Like, I can just imagine it would be like just the best movie to watch in cinemas.
Is that's why I enjoyed. It's like that's why I loved watching, for example, like Infinity War in cinemas, just for that experience. Because
Yeah, I
the
did too.
experience for me, like the experience, like is a big part of like watching films for me, and like this is like the experience of watching this again is so great. It makes for me this film even better than I originally thought it was. Like I thought this film was like great, like fantastic, but like I've said, watching all the other films before it in context, it just gives me again a bigger appreciation for it, and it makes me love it even more.
Yeah.
Yeah, but even the fact that I watched this like in like a low quality on my phone, and it still gave me chills, shows how much power this film has.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Whew.
Yeah. Is there anything we want to go on, like anything you want to get off your chest before we go to the trivia?
And just overall, this film is just great, and I'm so glad that a film like this exists and it plays off all of the MCUs at that point. It's just like this is like if this again we said if this failed, I doubt there would be the MCU wouldn't be as big as it is today. Like I was even if this film was just did okay, the MCU would continue, but it did so well that I feel like it would not be as popular as it is now.
Yeah.
Like this whole thing of like this build up to Endgame, or even to like last year with Infinity War, it would not have happened without this film.
Yeah.
Because like this,
Absolutely.
like this shouldn't have worked.
Like
but, like, it's done so well.
Like even though I haven't seen it, like just seeing Iron Man and Captain America bicker in this film already gets me hyped for Civil War.
Yeah.
That's the
Dude.
Like,
I was gonna say like, because you found it like enjoyable how Tony
so it's
Stark,
like literally
this new age guy, and Captain America's like from the 30s or 20s or whatever. I was gonna say like Civil War. You're gonna like that movie.
It's like literally an entire movie based around my favorite part of Avengers. Like,
yeah.
sign me up.
It's that's one of the
on top of that, there's also Winter Soldier and Iron Man 3 before that, which is going to develop their characters even more.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So fucking, I'm pumped.
Yeah.
Civil War is one of the very few Blu-rays, Marvel Blu-rays I have.
Yeah.
Don't you have Batman vs Superman on Blu-ray, Anthony?
Yeah, because when it came out, they were like, "Oh, it's all explained in the extended," and I was like, "I'm interested. Like, does it actually make a little bit more sense?" The answer is yes, but it's kind of shittily done, so I don't think it's worth it. I mean, I'm glad I did it because now I know it's for you guys. Don't do it.
The only extended editions worth buying are the Lord of the Rings.
Jesus Christ.
Fucking just extra stuff that doesn't have anything to do with the story.
It's for people who read the books. I go, oh look, they added it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I mean, anyway, we'll move on from that. We'll get into the trivia of the Avengers. This one had so like literally I had to skim through a lot of it, but even like the highlights that I picked, there's still a lot of trivia. Like literally the IMDb trivia page had like 200 trivias. It was fucking insane. I've never seen a film with so much trivia in all my life.
All right, this will be good.
All right. So the first one is Robert Downey Jr. kept food hidden all over the lab set, and apparently nobody could find where it was. So they just let him continue doing it. In the movie, that's his actual food he's offering, and when he was eating, it wasn't scripted. He was just hungry.
Yeah, like that scene where he's got like that silver bag with like stuff
blueberries.
in it. Yeah, that's great. That just shows how great Robert Downey Jr. is. Like he's so good.
What I love about that one too is that Bruce Banner, Mark Ruffalo, actually takes a blueberry and he's like, "Thanks, man." And he eats one too. Like
See, that's the thing though. Like, that's another thing I love about the actors in this film is that they're so ready to just like add whatever they want to the movie and make it feel natural.
Yeah, dude. Yeah,
Like, it just
yeah,
makes them feel like real people. Like Tony Stark and Bruce Banner, they feel like actual, real human beings.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, Reportedly, Iron Man's "Let's Just Not Come In Tomorrow" speech was improvised by Downey Jr., as was "Darth Mother, know thou weareth that her drapes."
That's
Are you-
interesting. I did not know that at all.
Like, the funny thing is that with Incredible Hulk, is like people hated Edward Norton because he kept on writing his own shit into the film, whereas everyone loves Downey Jr. because when he does it, it's so funny.
I think because when he does it, it probably fits better too. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because I'd imagine Edward Norton's the kind of dude like, oh, let's change the whole direction of the film, and whoever the director of the Incredible Hulk is like, no, it's my movie, I'm directing. He's like, well, I'm the star, so you got to do what I say.
Yeah. I think it's also just because Downey Jr. and Tony Stark are very similar, and he's just playing himself, and you
Yeah.
can just tell he's having fun. Like,
Well, it was
oh,
probably Joss Whedon, like Downey Jr.'s like, I've got some blueberries, and like Joss Whedon's like, yeah, Tony Stark would probably be eating it. Yeah, that fits in with the character.
Yeah. It just seems like being like Robert Downey Jr. just seems like he has so much fun with these movies.
Yeah, yeah.
And they keep that stuff in. They don't, because like a really old fashioned director would be like if Captain America was the director of the movie, like no, that's not what we're doing. We gotta follow the rules, and like whereas if you're working with Robert Downey Jr., you just gotta let him do his thing, and he'll make the movie more entertaining.
He'll make it great. Yeah.
It's just like there's some of my favorite moments in the movie, like when he mocks Thor for being Shakespearean. It's just so funny.
Yeah.
There were very few times that everyone was in town at once, but on one night when they were, Chris Evans sent them all a text message simply saying "assemble," which is the tagline of the movie, prompting a night out on the town. Clark Gregg has stated that this is his favorite text message he's ever received.
That's really cool. I like that one.
Yeah, like they all became friends during this movie.
Yeah, no, I mean, you've got to with a series like this,
Yeah, and like that's probably why they have such good chemistry on screen because they're all friends.
Yeah.
Reportedly, a scene was filmed where during the final battle, Captain America saves an old man trying to protect his grandchildren. He tells them get them to cover, but as he walks away, the old man asks him, "Cap, is that really you?" And he turns and, noting the man's World War II veteran lapel pin, trade salutes with him. As Captain America sprints away, the children ask their grandfather, "Do you know him?" And he replies, "We all know him." So I guess that would have tied back to First Avenger.
Yeah.
Robert Downey Jr. asked the Marvel production manager permission to take away the letter A that was on the Stark Tower with him, but he declined. However, on his next birthday, the manager gave it to him as a gift.
That's cool. That'd be cool. Was it? I'd be interested. Like, is it actually a full size like sign from a building?
I think it is.
How would
like?
Jeez,
like,
what would you do with that?
Because like I don't know. Or he'd probably hang it up somewhere and be like, "This is the."
That's my team.
Yeah. Yeah. Gwyneth Paltrow is noticeably barefoot in all of her scenes in Stark Tower, while Robert Downey Jr. is in 3 or 4 inch platform shoes, so he looks taller than her.
Yeah, apparently this is a big thing on like all of his movies. Like he's a real short dude apparently, so he has to have these big platform shoes.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah,
I
I
as
haven't
bad
heard
as Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
No, surely not.
Nah, not that bad. I think Gwyneth Paltrow is pretty tall though.
Yeah,
I think she is. Yeah.
Because like she's way taller than Scarlett Johansson is.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I remember when I first watched this movie, I'm like, it's so weird to see like a character in like in a superhero movie just dressed like they're like about to go to bed. Like it was just so weird. I was like, what the hell is this? But now it makes sense. Pretty funny. When the missile is released over Manhattan, the pilot calls detonation in 2 minutes and 30 seconds. The sequence between then and the detonation is 2 minutes and 30 seconds of film time.
That's pretty cool.
That's cool. I like when movies do that. I
Yeah.
respect that.
It's like the opposite of like 42 when Chibnall like said this episode's 42 minutes, but then the timer is so inconsistent.
Yeah, and plus the timer finishes quite a bit before the actual episode ends.
Yeah.
Right.
But like the fact
you
that
stick to it.
But the fact that in Avengers like that actually happens, like it's exactly the amount of time. It makes it feel like it's in real time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the final end credit scene, Captain America is the only one not eating. That is because Chris Evans got a buzz cut, grew out his beard after this movie was done filming. He was called in later to do this extra scene and refused to shave off his beard due to filming Snowpiercer at the time. So they gave him a prosthetic jaw. He holds his hand over his face because the prosthetic made him look like he'd been attacked by a hive of angry bees. He also is unable to eat or talk with the prosthetic on. The wig he wears is also quite clearly visible in certain shots of the scene.
I mean,
that's pretty funny.
There was only really one shot of that scene, wasn't there?
Well, the thing is...
It was like a zooming in or something?
The thing is about this movie is there's two versions of it. There's the version that they showed on the first day at the movies, and then there's the other one they showed every other day at the movies. The one that I saw was the second one, where they go to they go to whatever that place is called, the one that Tony Stark said we go.
Yeah, when they get
That's the one I saw, but like the original version has the Thanos ending.
Oh no! So that I'm pretty sure a lot of these movies have two post-credit scenes. So one will be like in the middle of the credits, and then like once the scene is done, the credits will keep going, and then right after the credits, there's another scene.
Yeah.
But like, it's crazy to think it's like we got all the way through this Avengers movie, and then they get to the mid credits, and it's fucking Thanos, and it's like, this is the new threat.
This is
the Infinity Saga threat. It's like now that's been dubbed this whole first 3 phases. So it's pretty cool.
And I feel like watching this movie and seeing that, like, this is the first one so far that's really gotten me starting hype for Endgame.
Yeah, dude.
Even though it's not Josh Brolin in that one scene,
yeah,
it still kind of looks like him though. No, it's not.
Well,
Josh Brolin.
They hadn't got him yet for that. They haven't.
It's a different voice. He sounds.
The voice is different.
The voice sounds a bit like cartoonish.
Yeah.
But thankfully, he does look similar, so the continuity is not too off.
No.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's like the fact that they knew that Infinity War was going to happen, like when they were making Avengers, is pretty crazy.
That's so crazy. Like that's like 10 years in the future. 10 years in the future.
Nah, it's like 6 years, but
2012 to 2017.
2018.
Yeah,
18.
Right.
So it's like 6 years.
6 years.
My maths is horrible. But yeah, I don't know. I find it crazy how like, was it Kevin Feige? Yeah. How he like had this way long-term plan of the whole kind of series. It gets me hyped for like what's after Endgame as well, you know? Like what's next after that?
Yeah, who knows? Like I don't know. I mean, the thing is, we just can't predict it because they've been keeping a lot of the spoilers under wraps, apart from obviously Tom Holland, who gives us everything.
Yeah.
Joss Whedon explained that 2 of the founding Avengers members, Ant-Man and the Wasp, were cut from the script because the film had too many characters. Although the screenwriters didn't want Ant-Man in the MCU until this movie was released. So, from what I believe, Black Widow and Hawkeye were originally going to be Ant-Man and the Wasp, but they just didn't have enough time to develop them as characters. So they replaced them with Black Widow and Hawkeye, and they gave Ant-Man and the Wasp more development. So they were supposed to be in the first one, and they're not going to appear until the 4th one.
That is interesting, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it like could you imagine if like Ant-Man and the Wasp as a single or two separate like Phase 1 films?
Mm. Don't know about that. It just, yeah, I don't know. I think the way they went with it has worked better.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, I
absolutely.
agree.
Well, it's developed
and
its
also,
own kind of canon. So.
yeah, and also like now that Ant-Man is finally gonna be in an Avengers film, we've got the theory that he's gonna kill Thanos
Yeah.
by going into his ass.
That I honestly I hope that meme dies when the movie comes out.
Yeah.
I've heard it's for like a month now, like a straight month.
I hope it happens and then Thanos just like kills him.
Just like shits him out. No, it wouldn't work because Thanos has another chin over his asshole. That's how Titan biology works.
Oh. He just picks him out with his hand and throws him.
Yuck.
Oh dear. Anyway, according to writer and director Joss Whedon, "That man is playing Galaga" line was ad-libbed by Robert Downey Jr. and worked so well that Whedon decided to add an image of Galaga on that man's console and the scene's punchline.
Batman. For the longest time, I thought he was saying Batman is playing Galaga, and I was like, he can't say that. You're not allowed to say that name in this universe.
There was also like lots of references to other like nerd stuff. Like there was a Doctor Who reference in this when he said Iron Man to reverse the polarity.
Oh,
Did he
yeah.
actually at some point?
Yeah, he said when he was telling Captain America to like do the red
To
wire
fix
thing.
the rotors. Yeah.
And he's like, I just got to reverse the polarity. And Captain America's like, I'm from the fucking 40s. Talk English.
I don't understand
Yeah, speak
this. Yeah.
English.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a kick out of that.
Yeah. I didn't even notice that, but that's pretty
Like
cool.
the fact that this movie references other Marvel shit and other universes as well. Like that's crazy. Like
Well,
Joss Whedon.
I think this was like when what would you not nerd culture, just kind of like that kind of culture became normalized in a sense.
Mainstream.
Yeah, it became very mainstream after the Avengers because of like how much of a success it was in theaters.
Yeah. To prepare for the role of Agent Clint Barton, Hawkeye, Jeremy Renner was trained by Olympic archers.
Oh, wow.
Does it say which Olympic archers or just
No, it doesn't say who.
in general?
Just in general.
That's pretty cool.
This one's sort of trivia, but I think we already said this. We kind of said this in the other movie, but I put it down anyway. Chris Hemsworth had to increase and expand his food intake in order to maintain the physique he built up in Thor, consisting of chicken breasts, fish, steak, eggs every day. He said he had to consume his body weight in grams of protein.
Wow.
Jesus Christ.
It's fucking crazy. The shocked expression of Loki after being slammed by the Incredible Hulk was created by animation director Mark Chu, shaking Tom Hiddleston violently and repeatedly.
That's one way to get the job done, eh? Just violently shake the shit out of your actors.
Samuel Jackson's Nick Fury is from the Ultimate Marvel Universe, created in 2000 to reimagine and update the Marvel heroes in the 21st century. Fury's likeness was actually based on Samuel L. Jackson, who gave Marvel permission to do so. Subsequently, based on that likeness and his star power, Jackson was cast as Fury in all the MCU films.
Yes. Okay, I'm going to say something, and I think your subscribers are going to hate me for it. The Ultimate Universe in comics is like the shit. It's like the coolest shit out, and I love it.
Okay.
No, because in like the comic book like fandom, people fucking hate the Ultimate Universe. I don't know why, but like I started on that when I was a kid, so I always knew Nick Fury as like this black dude who takes no shit.
Okay.
And then like obviously in Iron Man, I was like, oh shit, it's it. Like that's the guy. You know, I know who that is.
Yeah,
because
the fact that they based him off Samuel Jackson and then Jackson went on to play it. That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's like it is
It
his
is pretty
destiny.
nuts. It's
It's his
yeah,
destiny
yeah,
to play that
absolutely.
character. It's like one of those examples where like the comic book character and the actor are the
The
same.
same. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Well, that's like Hugh Jackman and
Wolverine.
Wolverine. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say, I mean, I haven't read Iron Man comics, but I can imagine Tony Stark and Robert Downey Jr. are pretty similar.
Yeah.
I read a thing a while ago. Apparently it was at like the Iron Man opening, and Stan Lee was obviously there with Robert Downey Jr. and he like grabbed him into a hug and he was like, "This is exactly who I imagined when I wrote the character of Iron Man."
Oh, that would feel so good.
Yeah. But yeah, I remember reading that and I was like, "Yo, that's cool." Like, you imagine you're in this like cinematic universe and you're actually okayed by the
Yeah,
dude who made it.
yeah. Um, well, I mean, and it's also because like that happens sometimes in other universes too, like Game of Thrones, right?
Yeah.
George R.R. Martin, when he was writing Ned Stark's character, he imagined Sean Bean, and then Sean Bean
Yeah.
ended up playing the role. Like that's cool when that stuff happens.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it lets viewers kind of see it through what the kind of creator sees as well. Like the
Yeah,
creators like, this is exactly what I saw. Viewers are like, oh, awesome. I'm gonna see like the near raw product.
yeah. Um, the German police car skidding on its front end after Loki blasts it was a complete accident as it failed to flip over.
Damn, that's interesting.
The laboratory scene where Bruce Banner explains how he once attempted to commit suicide by shooting himself in the mouth is a direct reference to a deleted scene from The Incredible Hulk, where Edward Norton's Bruce Banner tried to commit suicide in this manner out of the middle of Alaska wilderness, only to be stopped by his transformation into the Hulk.
Yes,
So we
I
we
knew.
didn't yeah, so we
What were
didn't
you saying?
see this. We didn't see this
No.
when we watched it because we didn't see the extended version. Thank fuck, because I didn't
No.
want to.
Yeah, no, no, it was cut completely. Like there wasn't even. I don't think there was an extended version anyway.
Well,
But
there is apparently there is on the DVD, I think, or the Blu-ray.
Yeah, because
Ah.
there's a director's cut that's like 20 minutes longer. That's what
Yeah,
it says on IMDb.
It's the same length as the Avengers, but it's
Oh
that
gosh,
movie.
I'm okay, thanks.
But it's kind of weird
Yeah,
how
I
like he references a deleted scene. That's pretty
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah, and I
yeah.
do like that sort of reveal as well in the film because like it shows like how low Banner got and how
Yeah.
much like Hulk in a way is ruining his life. I do like that how that's
Well,
used in the Avengers.
kind of in a way, it's like Hulk has saved his life too. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
because he's like, I put a bullet in my mouth, and the other guy spat it out. It's like, oh well, I would be dead, but because of Hulk, this guy,
Mhm.
Well, I mean, when you say when he says the other guy, maybe he's not even talking about Hulk. Maybe he's talking about Edward Norton.
Edward Norton spat it out. He's like, no, I'm not doing this.
The other
stupid
guy.
scene.
The other guy
Yeah,
spat it
well,
out.
spat
We
it
can't
out.
say his name.
We're legally contracted to not say his name, but the other guy, you know who he is.
The other guy.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny. The final end credit scene was added after Robert Downey Jr. encouraged a scene rewrite. After Tony Stark falls back to Earth, he originally awakens and asks what next. Robert Downey Jr. thought the line could be more interesting and added the idea of going to a local shawarma restaurant was born. The scene was added one day after the global premiere. Since then, shawarma sales in Los Angeles, St. Louis, and Boston have reportedly skyrocketed.
Yeah. Local meal of the Avengers.
Oh, you feel so stoked if you like that movie caused you to make lots of money.
Dude, you'd make shawarma and you'd be like, here's the Avengers package. It's like $55. You get like 6 different shawarma meals or whatever they are.
Yeah. And like, if you're Thor, you get one with like 2 chicken breasts in them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then if you're Captain America, you get like a you get the toy one because it's not real because Captain America couldn't eat.
yeah.
Tom Hiddleston revealed in an interview with The Guardian that the code name for this film in its early production was Group Hug.
Group hug. Okay.
I guess it makes sense. The Hulk bringing Iron Man back to consciousness by roaring at him was improvised by Mark Ruffalo during his motion capture performance.
That's funny.
It's
That's
just
funny.
so many,
That was like
there's
Mark
so many,
Ruffalo
there's so many
improvising as well.
iconic moments in this movie that are ad-libbed by the
Just
actors,
improv, yeah.
Yeah.
and it's so hilarious. This is the first Marvel. I'm pretty sure everyone in the bloody world knows this. This is the first MCU film to earn $1 billion.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's a lot.
100%.
Nice.
At this point in time, it was the third most grossing film ever, just below Titanic and Avatar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I believe after that it got taken over by Star Wars: The Force Awakens.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sound editor Christopher Boyes has stated that he went through a complicated process to craft Hulk's voice. Oh yeah, you've already told us about this, Anthony. All the different voices.
Yeah, no, I was intrigued because rewatching this, the roars are kind of, I don't know, they were weird. I was like, that doesn't sound like one guy, or like it doesn't sound human even,
Yeah.
you know?
But also to add on to what you said, it's not only Mark Ruffalo, Liv Ferringer, and 2 New Zealanders. It's also the sound editor as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, that's cool though.
Yeah. According to Joss Whedon's commentary, Bruce Banner's saying of Loki, "You can smell crazy on him," was a setup for Hulk. When the Hulk faces off Loki in Stark Tower, originally Loki was going to make multiple versions of himself, and the only way the Hulk was going to discern where Loki was to smell them, and only the real Loki would have a scent.
Yeah.
But then
I don't know.
But then what we got instead was very funny.
Puny God.
Puny God.
Yeah.
Puny God. Now this is one thing I got so confused about the film. They kept on saying Phase 2, and I was like, wait, what the fuck? Is Phase 2 something that's actually in the film as well?
Yeah.
So Captain America finds Phase 2 weaponry in the secure storage area of the helicarrier. Those weapons are emblazoned with the Hydra logo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
no
obviously,
comment there.
obviously I don't know anything about Phase 2 within the
You'll-
story.
When it comes, you'll be like, ah.
Yeah, it's quite clever.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's one
But
of the Easter eggs
I was so
talking about
taken
before.
aback. I was like, wait, what the fuck? This feels like they're breaking the fourth wall. It's like we're about to enter Phase 2.
After this movie, we're in Phase 2, boys.
Yeah. Writer and director Joss Whedon supposedly had a detailed backstory for Hawkeye written up, but was unable to even reference any of it due to time constraints. During the early planning stages, Hawkeye was envisioned to be depicted as a circus performer, trained by supervillains who manipulate him into fighting the team. Essentially a modernized version of his 616 origin story. And at another point, he was planned to debut in Iron Man 2 as an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. who works closely with Black Widow and Nick Fury.
Right. Yeah, it's just like we talked about how he has like no real development in the film, and that's just to do with time constraint. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, is it possible that they could have cut something out of Iron Man 2 and had him in it?
probably,
I'd say yeah.
probably.
Because Iron Man 2 is pretty stuffed.
Yeah, it's a very,
Yeah.
very.
Cut
Look,
the whole damn S.H.I.E.L.D. plot out. Like, I mean, I know the donuts joke was pretty funny, but like, it was so not necessary to the story.
Yeah.
Oh well. When filming the scene of Loki yelling at the Hulk, Tom Hiddleston had a rope tied to his leg, and since Hulk is just CGI, when the rope was pulled, it would appear that the Hulk had grabbed him. Tom knew it was going to be pulled during the speech, but he didn't know when, so that he wouldn't be anticipating it.
Yeah.
That reminds me of like Hans Gruber falls from the tower in Die Hard. Like Alan Rickman, they gave him like they said like, we're gonna push you down. 3, 2, and then they push him before they say 1. Say like he has a shock on his face.
Yeah.
Disney had the film titles changed in the UK to Marvel's Avengers Assemble.
Yeah, that's what it's called here.
To avoid confusion with the iconic British espionage franchise The Avengers from 1961 and 1998.
Yeah. Yeah, over here it's called Avengers Assemble. Is what it's called.
It's
So,
pretty
but I
crazy.
yeah, I know. But I just call it the Avengers because that's what
I
it's
think
called in
most
this
people
one.
do. It's just legal rights they have to call it
Yeah,
Avengers
exactly.
Assemble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's also like another whole nother thing called Avengers Assemble as well.
Yeah.
Like this 21-minute thing I saw like when I was typing it into 123 movies.
Mm.
Um, according to the visual effects supervisor, Joss Whedon disliked Iron Man's Tinkerbell pose when flying. So he insisted that in this movie the suit be equipped with a jetpack. This would allow his hands to be free, which in turn offered those great cowboy poses that were seen in the film.
Mm.
I like that because it does factor in to later when you'll see, but like every kind of Iron Man appearance, his suit is kind of little details have been modified and changed, and
Yeah.
kind of almost
Upgraded.
there's an evolution of his suits. Yeah, he's upgraded them every
Well,
time.
apparently they get,
Uh,
according to Adam, they get more CGI as they go on.
I
Yeah.
know why. I think I know why. You'll see,
I
but
mean,
like
to be fair, like the Iron Man 1 suit was like fully practical, 450 pieces, and it would look like
Mm.
a bitch to wear.
yeah.
Mm.
Since this movie and Iron Man 3 were originally part of a six-picture deal with Marvel and Paramount before the distribution rights were transferred to Disney, it's the Paramount logo that appears in the advertising and marketing as well as the beginning of the movie, although Paramount Pictures had no part in the production of this movie. They still received a share of the box office grosses based on their original deal with Marvel. No reference to Disney is made until the end closing credits where it says The Avengers is distributed by Walt Disney Studio Motion Pictures.
Yeah.
So I think we talked in the first Avenger review about how that was the last one distributed by Paramount, and we got a bit confused.
Yeah.
But that's the explanation behind
Yeah.
it.
Like it's actually disputed, but this one is obviously to do with like Marvel's deal with them, as this is the
Yeah.
last one under it. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think Disney jumped in at the right time, like literally when Avengers was coming.
Yeah.
Natalie Portman was going to cameo as Jane Foster, but had to drop out when she became pregnant. There's
Yeah,
a
they do.
picture of her, though.
Yeah, they reference her and they show a
Yeah.
picture as well. So
Seamus McGarvey, who was the DOP, shot the film in 185:1 aspect ratio rather than 235:1, which was 235:1 was what all the other films were. So the aspect ratio is slightly different on this one.
yeah.
It was to cope with the varying heights. We needed to height in the screen to be able to frame in all the characters like Hulk, Captain America, and Black Widow, who is much smaller. We had to give them all precedence and width within the frame. Also, the final battle sequence was going to be this extravaganza in Manhattan, so the height and vertical scale of the buildings was going to be really important. So they actually had to change the size of the frame to fit everything in.
Yeah.
I think that shows like the dedication that obviously the production team as well as just everyone who was on this project movie, just the amount of like dedication they put into it,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is amazing.
It gives
really.
it gives it that kind of unique style as well.
Mm.
I feel like it benefits it more than anything as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Two founding members of the Avengers from the comics were left out of this movie: Ant-Man and the Wasp. Oh, so we've already talked about this. The hot dog cart crushed during the fight at the end of the movie is the same hot dog cart that Chris Evans was using during the movie The Losers in 2010. That is some crazy trivia.
That's cool.
funny.
Yeah.
Like, that's crossing into another movie universe.
Yeah.
Does that mean that movie is in the same universe as the Marvel universe?
If you want to believe that Captain America was in that film,
Was
I
in
guess so.
yeah. What if it was like one of his relatives, like his what is it? Like his niece's great whatever.
Maybe. That'd be crazy.
Generate your own.
But and I would say that's a bit ridiculous. But then if you remember in the first Avenger, when he comes to modern day, there's someone that looks exactly like his girlfriend.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
One draft of the movie had it taking place from Tony's point of view.
I think the way they did it. I think it was much better. I would say that might have been a bit. It would have all the characters. I would say maybe not have had
It
as
would have been
good
too
development as
biased.
that. Yeah,
It would have been too
exactly.
biased.
I feel like the way they did it to make it more about the team than just one person.
Yeah.
Because that also would just want to make sense in a way, because this is meant to be a combination of all the characters, not just from like Tony's story,
Yeah.
So I'm glad they did it the way they did.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was much smarter to have it be like Iron Man and Captain America are equal. Like, I feel like that's a way more interesting way to do it.
Yeah.
In Captain America's opening scene, he's in a gym punching a heavy bag. He punches the bag so hard it breaks the chain and falls to the floor. This parallels a similar scene from Buffy the Vampire Slayer Season 5, Episode 22, The Gift, also directed by Joss Whedon, in which Buffy hits a heavy bag so hard its chain breaks and bag falls to the floor.
That's pretty cool. That's just a nice little parallel.
The film was originally rated R.
Oh,
really?
Wow.
Yeah, but I think they probably had to tone it down because they were going to make way more money by targeting the family audience.
That's so interesting. Yeah, no, they made literally, we said billions.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But that's interesting how it was originally an R-rated movie.
Yeah, that's mad. Like, I actually can't imagine that being an R-rated. Like, where would you, I guess blood would, like, I could imagine the gore, but like.
Yeah, like there's that, you know how we were talking about the scene where the Hawkeye goes through the window, like he would probably be covered in blood, realistically.
Oh yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah.
Speaking of that,
also when Loki takes the guy's eye out in Germany, that probably would have been like very gruesome if it was R-rated.
Yeah, jeez.
Yeah, and probably Samuel L. Jackson would have said fucking shit and bitch and.
Well, it's like Coulson's dead. Fuck.
Yeah. Now I actually got some trivia about that stunt as well. Writer and director Joss Whedon revealed that Jeremy Renner injured himself during which caused a production halt for several days. During the final battle scene where he crashes through the window, he ripped a muscle from his back to his shoulder.
Oh.
Ouch.
That's that explains why he looks like he's in so much pain. Like when
because he probably is, because he is in pain.
And that's like
usually.
And like that's kind of like, I guess you could say that's like it's the same as the ad-libbing. It's like that natural reaction.
Yeah.
Because
like
he literally injured himself.
He's like, I am in genuine pain. Please help me.
Yeah, it looked like a crazy stunt.
Yeah.
And that's all the trivia. There was 37 of them.
Damn.
37 that I picked out. Right. I guess it's time for the conclusion and the rating out of 10. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
Right. So, Marvel's Avengers is everything going into this that I thought it would be, but more, considering after watching all these films before it, having that all affect this film, and just this being the real culmination of Phase 1, is so, watching back on it, so satisfying and so rewarding to watch it. All these characters being as well written as they were, action is so good, score is fantastic, the plot itself is a really, really fun and interesting plot, great for a team assemble type story. Josh Whedon was a perfect pick for this film, and he does everything so well. There are a few flaws, like we mentioned, with characters like Hawkeye, who didn't get as much development as we wanted them to, but those small things don't, for me, affect the film as a whole. I think there are films in the MCU that are better than this, but there's very few that are. This film is just so fun to watch, and it's so brilliant in almost everything it tries to do. So, rating, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10.
Yeah. Anthony, your turn.
Yeah, again, like, I hadn't seen this movie in a long time, and my memories of it were, like, super positive. So I was kind of going into it again today. I was like, all right, remember, like this is, legitimate. I'm gonna critique the shit out of it. But it actually holds up fairly decently. And as we've said, you've got all the characters um, that actually they kind of, bump off each other and really react pretty well, as they would with each other and with the world around them. And again, there's always little Easter eggs in all these Marvel films. This one, because I hadn't seen it in a while, probably because I was not looking for them last time I saw it, I did get a little more Easter eggs this time around. Um, and yeah, I mean, I would agree that it's like up there as probably one of the highest Marvel films. I'd probably give it I'm gonna say a 9.5.
Wow. Very solid film. This is a film that I always liked, but now having watched all of Phase 1, it's one that I love. Like it's shot up so much in my mind. Just it's all of the things, all the great things about Phase 1 put together, and all the flaws are really well. Like for example, Hulk. Hulk was taken from, like, he was by far my least favorite, and then he was taken to be possibly my favorite just in one film by a recast and great writing. The characters work so well. They bump off each other. The comedy is golden. The score is incredible. The movie is it's perfect event, movie. It's exactly what it needed to be. There's a couple of flaws. There's a couple of things I'm not sure about. And there are other MCU movies that reach a sort of a more sort of closer to perfect in terms of its storytelling. But as far as like an event, like Avengers movie goes, this was the perfect one to start the to start that trend of these big movies goes. It's extraordinary, and I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, it's a brilliant film, and it not only is it great itself, not only does it pay off Phase 1, but it gets me excited for other ones in the future, which is exactly what it's exactly what it
Yeah.
needed to be.
That's what it should do. And like, I'm extremely now looking forward to like Phase 2 films like Winter Soldier, Guardians. I'm looking forward even to watching Age of Ultron again, and then watching it and comparing it to this. There's like, this does so much, if like, especially at the time, but also like if you're watching this in order, this film does so much for the MCU, and it builds upon its previous success, but it makes it so much more than it already was. Like, this film for me is the best of Phase 1, without a doubt.
Bar none.
Like,
it is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, like compared to like everything else, well, stuff like Iron Man and First Avengers, I would probably say are probably the two, like before this film, probably one of my favorite ones looking back on it. But this film especially is actually like fantastic, and it's so well done. It makes those films better, but also this builds upon everything else and makes the MCU as a whole better. And just going forward, it makes you so excited, even for films that could be okay films. You're still invested in these characters.
Yeah, and I thought that I was worried that going into rewatching after all these years that it wouldn't hold up, but it does. It does.
Holds up very well.
It's in fact I would say it's gotten better for me.
Yeah, same here. I would say.
Yeah,
and that's the definition of a masterpiece, I think.
Yeah.
Right. So because we're at the end of Phase 1, I'm just going to do a quick ranking of all the Phase 1 films. You can do them too if you want to. But I think this is something that would be cool to do at the end of each phase. Just to sort of give a sort of like, just to, at the end of each phase, just to reflect on the whole thing and look back on it and sort of discuss where all the films are in your mind. Because sometimes when you review a film, and then once you get to the end of the phase, your opinions can change on it slightly.
Yeah.
Like you said, Avengers has actually affected your opinion on some of the films that you watched previously.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, would either of you like to go first, or
I'll go. I'll think phase one.
So-
Before going all into this, I would say that
yeah,
these films are like very weird looking back on it. I would say. I think most of these films are solid, but there are a few like very weirdly thought out films. Like Incredible Hulk is the biggest example of that, I would say. So it's so weird looking back on these films and seeing how they've either aged well or poorly. So yeah,
And-
it's like
how would you rank them from like worst to best, the Phase 1 films?
right. Incredible Hulk is obviously the worst. For me, it is absolutely the worst film. Like even if this was an okay film compared to everything else, it does so many things wrong. And it makes Avengers have to pick up the slack in a way, with like Bruce Banner especially. So Incredible Hulk is definitely at the bottom. Next film would, I think I had 4 next. I think because I just feel that when watching it, there was just something off for me. A lot of things were off. I think the biggest thing for me was the direction. I would say. I think I mentioned that a lot. How like the Dutch angles really brought it down for me. And I think as far as a character, while I liked him in the beginning and the way he was so egotistical on his journey, I just felt that stuff like the romance and the dialogue were quite. Just wasn't there for me. So, yeah, I think that would probably be after that. After that, I'd probably put like Iron Man 2. Well, I don't think it's a terrible film. I think it does a lot of things wrong and it feels incredibly rushed. So it's probably after 4 where Iron Man 2 would be. Then I would put Captain America First Avenger. That was the one film where I was like very much pleasantly surprised out of all of these films. I would say that was the one I had probably like one of the lowest expectations for, but then watching it, I was really, really impressed by it. I really was like engaged the whole way through. While it does have a lot of problems, especially in the second act, where it feels like it skips over quite a lot of things, especially them taking out a lot of the Hydra bases. It's still a very decent film, so it's probably 3rd for me. Then 2, I would say, is Iron Man, the one that started it all. Looking back on it, I would say, while it hasn't aged terribly, I would say stuff like the second act and the villain, I would say, are the ones that really bring it down for me. The first 40 minutes is fantastic, I would say, with the terrorist base and stuff like that. So I think Iron Man is a very solid film and will be probably number 2 for me. And then we've got number 1, The Avengers. We've talked about obviously for the last nearly like 2 hours or something. It's
two and a half
definitely
hours.
yeah, 2.5 hours. It's like this film is the best of Phase 1 without a doubt for me. It is a fantastic film. It's so well written. Characters are fantastic. Comedy is great. Visually, it's fantastic. And just how it sets up the rest of the MCU as a whole, going into Phase 2 and just the MCU in general, it does a fantastic job and it makes me so excited to rewatch the rest. So that's why it's got to be number 1 for me.
Cool. That's very solid ranking. I like how you gave your descriptions of each one.
Yeah.
Anthony, have you got a list or do you want me to go first?
I actually agree.
Oh, you got the same list?
Yeah, that's exactly the same.
Okay.
I'd put like Hulk bottom, then Thor, Iron Man 2, Iron Man 1. Oh, sorry, no. Hulk, then Thor, then Iron Man 2, then Captain America, then Iron Man, then Avengers.
Okay, so you got the exact same list. Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
No, it's a good list.
Yeah, I would say, yeah. I would agree, obviously.
Right. My list is slightly different, but most of them are the same, I'd say.
Okay.
Yeah.
The only one that I actually dislike is the Hulk. The Incredible Hulk. It's the only bad one. It's such tedious film, bad casting choices, bad writing. Everything just didn't work for me. There's a couple of things I liked about it, but overall just not one that I enjoyed. And then the next 2 were the hardest ones for me, because the next 2 I have like at the exact same level and for different reasons.
Yeah.
And I'm really tossing up which one to go with, because One of them I find really entertaining, but overall it's quite sort of average. And then the other one is a good story, but I didn't enjoy watching it. But looking back on it now, having seen the Avengers, I'm gonna say Iron Man 2 is second to last, and First Avenger is a notch above it. And the reason why is, number one, the Avengers has gotten me to appreciate Captain America more as a character. And also the ending. The end of that film is one of the top 5 moments of Phase 1. Maybe even top 3. It's like the only moments I would say that pass it in the entire thing, in the entire Phase 1, all happened in the Avengers.
Yeah.
Like that ending to that movie is it's one of the best endings to a movie that I've ever seen. It's so heartbreaking. And the fact that he lost his girlfriend that he was just going to have a date on, and then he ends up 70 years in the future. It's such a mind fuck. I love it. I absolutely love the ending of that film. Overall, I thought it was quite boring, but like thinking back on it, in terms of Captain America as a character, it got him to the Avengers, and then the end result, I think, was more productive than what Iron Man 2 did, despite the fact that I found Iron Man 2 very entertaining.
Yeah.
So I will give credit where it's due in that regard. Then above that, Thor, because even though it's quite sloppy, I loved the visuals of Asgard. I found and also, like you said with Captain America, it was one that I was going in with really low expectations because I heard so many bad things about the Thor movies, and I was surprised at how much I enjoyed watching it. I got this real escapist mindset. Like, I got really lost in the fantasy of it, and I just found like the whole world building of it really cool. Obviously, there's flaws with it, and it's not a great movie. And the climax, the double climax, is a bit sloppy, and there's some elements to it that could have been polished. But I think I was really endeared to Thor's character in that movie, and that was the main reason why I really liked it. As on top of the Asgardian stuff, and just some small things like when Loki realizes he's a frost. What are they called again?
Frost giant.
Frost giant, and just Anthony Hopkins as Odin is so perfect for that role. Yeah. It's just there's a lot of great moments in that movie, and I just overall quite enjoyed it. Then of course Iron Man, like what a way to start. Obviously, I did comment on this. Some of the dialogue direction and ad-libbing is a really sloppy, quite stale looking. But overall, in terms of introducing Tony Stark to this universe, it did exactly what it needed to do.
Yeah.
And then, of course, top of the tops is Avengers, because it's just a fucking great movie. It's exactly what it needs to be. So yeah, I was really battling in my head though about Iron Man 2 and Captain America, just because I did enjoy Iron Man 2 more, but I think looking back on it, even though even though I did think a lot of the second half was quite boring, I think overall First Avenger does more for the series than Iron Man 2.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean our lists are fairly similar. So I think at this point we're sort of on a similar track. It'll be interesting to see where it goes from here.
Yeah, I think Phase 2 is going to be really interesting. Especially, I would say, the next 3 films, I would say, because quite interesting.
Iron Man 3 is extremely divisive. And then Thor the Dark World is infamous. And then Winter Soldier is a movie that I know absolutely nothing about, but I've heard
it's one of the best.
Say it's one of the best.
Yeah, it's pretty decent.
Yeah.
So
next week will be very interesting.
And then after that, Guardians.
I'll have a lot of fun rewatching Guardians.
And I haven't seen the Guardians films yet, but based on Infinity War, they look like so much fun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's a great way to describe them, I would say.
Yeah.
So Avengers especially has gotten me pumped for Phase 2. So obviously next time we'll be doing Iron Man 3, which I'm probably gonna watch straight after we finish because I really want to watch it now.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see what it's like.
Yeah, and Anthony, I believe you want to be on Iron Man 3 as well, because I know that you've got a particular set of opinions.
If it doesn't bother you.
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, every time we go to the DVD shop, you always tell me about, like, you point it at, you're like, this is the one that everyone hates, but I love.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see which side of the coin I'm on after I watch it.
Yeah, I would be I'll be intrigued to see.
Yeah, I'm very intrigued as well because I saw Iron Man 3 in theaters, and I enjoyed it then, but that was like ages ago, and that's like the last time I watched it in full. So
Oh yeah.
I'll be really interested to see whether I like it or if my opinion has soured on it since, especially
Yeah.
comparing it to Avengers because that's the film
Yeah.
right after. It's like a full
Yeah,
year
yeah.
between releases, so I'll be really interested to see how I feel about that film.
Yeah. Yeah, but anyway, we've just hit the 2 hour and 40-minute mark.
Yeah, it was a big one.
This is the first
Longer than
time
the
that
movie.
our review has been longer than the actual movie itself.
Yeah,
How
I would.
about that?
Yeah, it's like our longest one before us. I think was like
Iron Man.
Iron Man 2. Iron
No,
Man 2 was
Iron Man
it?
1. It was
It was
Iron Man
the
1.
first one.
Yeah.
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, just imagine how much longer this would have been had we had 6 people on.
This should probably been like 4 hours or something.
Jeez.
Fucking hell.
How long
But-
does that take you to upload? Christ.
Oh no, it's not too bad. It's the Skype quality's not great. But anyway,
Sure.
for the viewers' sake, I think we should end the recording here. So we will
Yeah.
see you guys next time for Phase 2 when we watch Iron Man 3.